There we go. That should work, I hope. Looks good. Sounds good, right? Let me see. It sounds correct here on stream. There we go. Yes, guys. Hear my voice there. So, it's time for the year's best game, right? And this year, I felt, screw it, we're gonna make a complicated top 10 list and do all stuff. I'm gonna make a tier list instead, because I'm a tier list channel right now. But I like to make a tier list, and honestly, the main reason I'll make a tier list, and I feel this is more accurate than the normal top 10, is because you see here, right? I made a best game of the year, of course, obviously, but then we have most play or like must play, right? So this is a game where I feel like okay, you have to. This is the most must play kind of thing, most play game, something like that, right? Good game ish 80s. My point is that I think this actually makes more sense than just having a top 10, right? Because I feel that usually we make a top 10, it's not really easy to say that, like I said, I think tiers makes more sense because when you get into like the top 4, right, it's like a really, really good. Or top 4 is a must play game, right? This to me, right, is to some extent kind of like Bleach, okay? So if you ever seen Bleach, right, Bleach post behind me, you got my katana here, let's bleach it up, bleach it time, right? It's kind of like Bleach in that sense, because in Bleach, right, you have these espadas, the evil captains, right, the hollow captains. And it's kind of like they're numbered, right, 1 to 10, wig, and after a certain while, right, after you get to like number 4 is actually 10 times stronger than number 5, right? And then it goes a super massive logarithm, right? And I feel, we're talking about the best game, and also best anime, whatever, I feel it's kind of the same thing, right? Where it's like, nah, but these 3-4 games in the, top 1 to 3, 1 to 4 maybe, are just amazing. And then the other games are fine, but they aren't actually, you have to play them right now, you know what I mean? So, that's why I make a tier list, because I feel actually it's more accurate to kind of sort them by saying that these like 3 games are in the absolute must-play kind of espada upper level, right? And these other games kind of like top 6 or 10, kind of like whatever. But also, lastly, there are more games than 10 here now. I will make brief about them shortly, but still, because I feel like you also ends up with like a lot of games, which I feel are 10-ish, right? Same thing when I do anime and too. I feel you end up with a lot of games that are kind of like, well, this could be number 1. Nah, I'm just kidding. But this could be like number 11, 12. This could be number 13. But it also could be number 10. I think even more so in anime, to be honest. I feel you end up with a lot of animes that are, they're pretty good, right? They're not like the best anime that year, but they're pretty good. So that number 10 can be like 10 different shows, basically. And with gaming, not as much. But I still feel we have like, number 10 to 20 is kind of like, for me, it's kind of same, right? Because it's like, they're all like 7 out of 10 games, right? They are pretty good, you can play them, but they aren't the best, right? So I feel that's why I also want to make a tier list, because I kind of want to cover it a little more like that, saying that, well, this is like a 7 out of 10 game, the IGN score. Yeah, 7 out of 10 IGN score. So it's kind of like 10, 11 or something. But honestly, I think that the whole, best game of the year and so on, in a sense, is really stupid, right? No, but I find it stupid because, in a sense, it's like, you know what I mean? Because you're talking about genres, right? I would much rather, in a way, have that we would make like a top 10 per genre, and it's super complicated, takes forever, right? But you know what I mean? Because, like, some games are just amazing, so they might be the best game of the year. Like I said, Boss 3 last year, then. Amazing game. But at the same time, of course, some people will never like Baldur's Gate 3, right? It's a turn-based role-playing game, it's kind of slow, right? So I think it's fair to say that, but some games just actually fit in the whole, like, top 3 or whatever, right? So it's a little bit like that. But anyways, I kind of want to make a tier list instead, because I want to order them like this. I might make the same thing with anime. Probably on Sunday this week then, if I make an anime top tier. Otherwise I make it next week, probably. But maybe the set with anime. But also, of course, we're gonna make a top 10 with anime as well, obviously. But I think you kind of want to make the same system here as well, because, just like I said, right, I feel it's a huge amount of anime, so it's kind of like mediocrely 7 into 10, and then a few ones that are amazing, and I think that's more accurate. But anyway, to get started then, I still have a list, right? I have a list, a top 10 list, which I have, obviously written down on my own side, and I know exactly which one I think is number 1 and 2 and so on. So there's no surprise to speak, of course, and I know exactly which one I think is the best one. But I say FIFA not necessarily gonna go one by one also. Man, this is a bit complicated now. No, but I feel I'm not gonna go like, I would say it's necessarily 1, 10, 9 actually, because I kind of want to make it a little more, meaningful, right, and actually review the games. Yeah, second point, I guess kind of it, right, because there's been a lot of games this year that I liked, and I haven't spent too much time reviewing some of them. Honestly, the reason why is because I will admit it that some extent you get more views and likes and subscribers just talking about all the shit happening, right? And I don't like doing that too much, honestly. I really don't. But this year has been a very interesting year because it has been so much failed games, right? Go Woco Broke has never been more true, right? Talking about this game has had some of the best games released, I think, in a long time, but also had some of the absolutely worst games released ever, right? And they've all been a complete, the game flops I made a few years ago. Yeah, it's been so many bad games this year, right? So I felt I spent more time this year hating on games and saying games I like, right? So this will also be a review then, guys, for some of the games that I played a lot, but I haven't actually made videos about. Because, yeah, there's nothing to say there. But anyway, long into short, whatever, let's get at it. So first of all, what I want to start with, and this is going to explain what I'm thinking too, because this game, if I look at my own list, I put it at number 7, actually. So I start with this game, number 7, and I put it in good game. Okay, Unicorn Overlord, okay. I bought the collector edition of this game, and I want to make a good point now. I'm going to come over here then, so I can rant on this game a little bit. No, but seriously, right. So, Unicorn Overlord, it's a fantastic game to a large extent, right? That one is. So I made Unicorn Overlord is based, right, on this game called Ogre Battle, which is one of my all-time favorite games of all time. It's an amazing game. You can see it here. I'm gonna put the image of it. No, I want to put the image. This one, there we go. So it's made on this game, right? Unicorn Overload and Ogre Battle. It's obviously kind of the same game, right? You have your guys move around on the screen, and then when they encounter other armies, you get this kind of like battle instead. So it goes from like a RTS kind of looking map, right? And then you're the yellow guy meets the gray guy. Then you get like the kind of typical role-playing fight, right? And then you have, of course, all the different characters and whatnot, right, in your repertoire and so on. So you have to respect different characters and so forth, right? And so first of all, obviously, best strategy game this year, easily. Just a really, really good game overall, right, in that sense, I think. But it is a game where you, how to say it, it's very, very min-max, right? You have like 5 units per little army squad, so you have like 500 guys and so on. So it's very, very addictive, right? So basically, my point here, and what I want to point to Unicorn Overlord as my first review, so to speak, is because this game, the gameplay, is 10 out of 10, okay? Arguably, Unicorn Overlord was the most addictive, enjoyable gameplay of PT4. An amazing gameplay. However, the storyline is utter terrible. Like it's just crazy, and I am obviously always been as a game designer, like gameplay is always number 1 for me. Right? As a game designer, there's always gameplay first, graphics, story, so on later. Right? But Unicorn Overlord is still a role-playing game. It is a tactical Japanese role-playing game. It's a lot of storyline, right? But the storyline is so shit in this game. It's a genuine like 0 out of 10 storyline. It is so generic, so badly written, and you're like, what is this? Like, it is so incredibly bad. So it has the best gameplay arguably this year, 10 out of 10, but it's massively flawed when it comes to everything else, right? And it's just like, oh my god. But the worst thing of the game, whole thing, is that again, amazing gameplay, addictive gameplay, the whole auto expert, but the execution part is so incredibly bad in this game. So basically, every time you beat a bad guy in this game, you can basically make them join your army or like kill them, right? Execute them. And that makes no sense in the game, because normally, right, like an Ogre Battle, the game is based on Texas Ogre and so forth, right? In those games, like, when you kill someone in Ogre Battle, then you will get another character, right? Or vice versa. So if you kill the bad sorcerer lady, now this paladin can join you. But if you not kill a lady, the paladin won't join you, because he hates her, so I mean. But in this game instead, you can there's no reason to not just let everyone join you. No one ever gets angry at you for allowing all the bad guys to join you. No one cares. And there's no like payback, there's no like storyline, there's no different like story paths, right? Another game that released 2 years ago, which I really liked, was Triangle Strategy. It was a very good game. I had that also in Hit Edition, both game Hit Edition. And Triangle Strategy is like the gameplay is obviously then Tactics Ogre instead, the sequel to Ogre Battle instead, right? And very, very FFT or Tactics Ogre, all made of course by Yasume Matsuno. But anyway, but that game is less fun of a gameplay. It's a fun gameplay though, but you know, the tactical chessboard kind of thing. You've seen the Mutant before. But that game instead perfectly shows how you should make these choices, right? So that game has like a myriad options. It has like 30 different ways you can play the game in the storyline, and it has like 3 main giant storyline bits, and there's like 3 or 4 different endings, and you know, it's a lot of different ways you can recruit different characters. And basically Triangle Strategy is like you have this voting all the time, right? And then you have different fights or different encounters depending on how you vote, who you ally up with, who you betray or whatever, right? And it also leads you to have like something like 8 or 9 or so characters per different path. So the game has like 3 main paths, right? And depending on what path you pick, you basically get, you know, 8 or so different characters to join your army, right? And they have different classes and abilities and so on. So it's a hard ability and so forth, right? Looks like Fire Emblem, 3 houses, right? There's 4 different, you know, paths, 3 main paths, obviously 3 houses, then the secret 4 path and so on, right? Like this game is written like that. You know, it's written like it has all these different myriad of paths and different playable characters, and it's written like that because you have like 40 different choices to, you know, join your party or whatever. But it doesn't make any sense because you can only join them anyway. Like it's just terrible. Like it's just such an incredible failure in this game, right? So so it's like a 10 out of 10 game with a giant, massive minus over that thing, and that's why I was over it, because that's kind of how I feel these good games are. We're like, okay, this game is incredibly good in one thing and incredibly bad in something else. So it's kind of like good game for me here now. It's like games that are great, but they're also massively flawed, right? But I wanted to rant about it a little bit. No, but it just really frustrates me how that game so easily could have been the best game this year, because it just doesn't make any sense. And I will say it lastly again with the game here. They are obviously copying, right? Ogre Battle and, you know, so forth, right? From Quest and the developers. And it just feels like, okay, we're copying their, you know, story structure. Why did you copy 80% of it? Just copy the last 20 and you get a perfect game, basically. Yeah, it's so weird. Like, it's just like, oh, you copied it, but you forgot to actually have any kind of meaningful choices to have impact on the player. In the middle of the game, right, you basically can forgive this thief guy, that Rolf is this archer guy, like Garden City. And that to me, right, if I was the game designer of this game, if you forgive the thief, then the guard guy should be angry and leave your partner or won't join you, or vice versa. Very obviously, yeah, like the guard guy and the thief guy can't join at the same time. That to me is like a no-brainer, but in this game you can put on both for no reason. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. It feels like they just implemented the system and forgot to actually finish the code of it. Yeah, something. It is really weird. It's very, very weird. It is, it's so frustrating. But anyway, you get my point. That's why I saw this end game. I want to rant a bit. No, but I want to explain to me, okay, this game is flawed, but it's not perfect. And, you know, like, kind of like that, right? Before we get into the bigger, better games, I wanted to, like, kind of get off that, that kind of introduction there. Man, so this is Marvel Rivals now. Sorry I didn't read shout out now. I just forgot it, sorry. I just remember it now, like, wait, am I reading the chat? Honestly, I don't know, I barely want to admit this thing, but I actually used... Okay. Yesterday, I installed the new Windows Defender antivirus program by Microsoft. And for whatever reason, that program refuses to let me play Chrome, or to start up Chrome, the browser, right? And I use Chrome for everything, right? So now I'm using Brave instead now. I use Chrome for mostly everything. And I tried for like 3 hours this morning to, like, I don't know. It's like this weird thing. It's like I am the parent of my own household, but I still can't be allowed to use Chrome. It's super weird. But anyway, so I forgot to... so I don't have the correct views now. Because I'm playing another browser instead. But yeah. So now I got the chat here now. But yeah, this is crazy. I was like, oh yeah, that's why I don't have the chat there on the screen. because Microsoft wanted me to start Chrome. It is really, really weird, and I've tried for like hours to fix it. And you can't uninstall it. It's super weird. So don't update into this weird Microsoft Defender thing. This doesn't work. It is super annoying. Of course, I Googled it and I found people having this same issue for like years, right? Oh, it's blocking Chrome, whatever. But basically, what it does is that Microsoft Defender blocks other browsers from being used, right? Because it's like, we can only trust Edge. You know what I mean? So you're like, oh, okay, great. But when I go into Microsoft Defender, then I am, of course, the parent of the household, right? But I'm also not the parent somehow. So I can't like allow myself to do it. Like my account is the owner, but I'm not the admin of my own account. Something. It's super weird. So it's so kind of bug. But anyway, sorry. I see you chat now, and of course stay the whole chat, but try to stay the whole thing. But Marvel Rivals, I think it's interesting. I have the game over here, so if you can't see that, I have it actually underneath me here. It's actually over here. We're gonna talk about it. We can talk about Marvel Rivals now then. Marvel Rivals is, first of all, I think it is a really, really funny side note, right? I don't want to dwell too much on that stuff in this video here. We're talking about the best games, right? But as a side storm, yeah, it is really funny that we just had, of course, Sue then, obviously Invisible Woman or Girl then, she's been called, right, released. And I am laughing my head off, right, at everyone, all the Vogue people, whatever you call them, being angry that she's too hot now in her Malice costume. It is. I haven't made a video about it, but it's like, it is so funny that, oh no, like, look at her, we can see her assets, right? And then people are like, I want Concord back, or everyone's ugly and so on. It is, it is crazy. But anyway, let's talk about Marvel Rivals. I played it, of course. So first of all, right, I worked on Overwatch. So you know I'm biased, so obviously Overwatch is a better game. Screw you Chinese people. But Marvel Rivals, I think, is a good example for this list here. That's why I brought it up too, that it's a typical, a 10-ish game to me, right? Because I don't think that, so I said at the beginning of this video, 10-ish for me is everything from like 10 to 20, right? So that's why it's more than, 20, like 10 games in this list here, right? Because Marvel Rivals to me is like a game where I felt like, yeah, it's fun. But is it like the best game this year? Like, not really. Is it like some incredible new inspirations to me? Not really, right? Now, of course, like I said, I did work on Overwatch a bit, and I played a lot of Overwatch, of course, also privately afterwards. And obviously the game is just Overwatch, right? So in that sense, too, you can't be too happy about it. But it is a better Overwatch. That's the thing, right? It's a better Overwatch. It basically plays like Overwatch, but every character has like one or two more mechanics. The way I look at more Rivals is you're basically playing Overwatch, right? So you're playing like, let's say you're playing Rem, and the Rem is a character in Overwatch, but then instead you put her in the rival costume, right? And now she got two more mechanics. That's the way I look at it. Yeah, you basically have the same characters, but they have like two or maybe three more mechanics. Sure, some of them are like hybrids and they swapped around. But I think most characters you kind of recognize that this is this character, but I can also have a teleport now, or have a jump now instead, right? And that makes everything just feel a little more fun because it feels like every character has been kind of improved since the Overwatch feel to it, right? So I do think that's better. But yes, of course Overwatch was better until the whole weird Overwatch 2 thing, which I was involved, of course, with many years after I left the company. But overall, Overwatch, I think, still is actually a better game than Marvel Rivals when it was, because it's more polished. I mean, I like Marvel Rivals, it's fun, you have round and so on, but it's like, there's a little bit hacky-tacky. I think there's clearly a lot of bugs in Marvel Rivals, right? And there's a lot of weird interactions with certain abilities, Spider-Man swinging Venom and so on. There's certain abilities that doesn't make any sense. I mean, from an actual like code standpoint, it just kind of willy-nilly what's going to happen, right? And Overwatch, I would say, is a much better, like, exactly polished product. You know exactly what's going to happen. So I think Marvel Rivals is fun, but I think it genuinely feels somewhat random. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that accurately is how some ultimates, for example, meet up with each other, and sometimes X wins, sometimes X loses against the same ultimate. It seems really, really random, and it's hard to tell exactly why certain interaction actually does what happens to that game. So I think, in that sense, I think the game has a very much a honeymoon feel to it right now, and I think Marvel Rivals will lose a lot of its players very rapidly. But the Overwatch is really weird. Overwatch is very strange. They made the whole 2 thing, and it's very weird. But yeah, Overwatch 1 is better than Overwatch 2. Yeah, it's super weird. But I think Rival is a fun game, but it probably won't have a very good competitive screen, I feel, right? Because again, I feel it's too not as easy, but it has more players probably. But on the side note though, lastly, for the next game here, obviously Marvel Rival is a much better game when it comes to the aesthetics. Absolutely. I should say earlier, with Malice, Sue Storm and so on. They're obviously going the typical Chinese route and saying that hot costumes, big assets, big tits, whatever is fine. Yeah, that obviously is way better. And it's kind of funny, right? Because Overwatch, of course, is famous for all this incredibly amount of, porn. yeah, Overwatch is famous for all those like extra, fun stuff on it, right? All the naked tracers and so on. Yeah, so it's really weird that Overwatch just never really embraced that. They had some, of course, hot poses or whatever, but instead Overwatch already from the beginning was like, I remember when they removed the hot pink, right? So you might not know this, but the Overwatch was very new. Tracer had this costume called Hot Pink, which basically Tracer in like pink pants, right? And it wasn't very hot, it was just hot pink. It wasn't very like super sexy, it was just Tracer in a full dress pink suit, right? And she had this like pose with her sideline her assets, and those was removed. But people complained so much about that; it was too overly hot or something. And that was like already in the beginning of it. That was like Overwatch first year, So yeah, it's Overwatch has always been very woke. Honestly, that's the best word for it. It's always been very woke since the beginning, and now of course it really is like fatso characters ever. It's going into that. Yeah, exactly. So that's obviously the best part of Rivals, honestly. The Rivals is embracing, like, oh yeah, we're gonna have hot superheroes. And Overwatch is like, oh no, they like Black Widow, we have to make her fatter so they stop doing stuff with her. It's like, this is weird. Yeah, it's just really weird. So my poor the Nesco's fall down, Poor Nesco. Yeah, the Tracer post, that was hilarious. They were like, no, it's too hot. Hot pink, you can't have that. But anyway, next game that I feel is in I don't have too much here, but next game I feel I put in the list is Palworld. I almost forget that Palworld was released this year, Palworld I feel is a very much E10-ish game, and I'm surprised a little people talking about it because it was so incredible big game when it was released, right? It was like the giant second coming of Christ or something, and it actually was released this year. I forgot about it, yeah. But of course, yes, that's true. Marvel Rival Summer Edition has to come. Yeah, it has to be like. Well, don't we have like what's called Spring Break soon? Yeah, Spring Break Summer Rival Edition. But Palworld, man, I don't like Palworld that much, Not because this is Nintendo's being stolen from, but it's like Palworld to me. I played it a lot for the first 2-3 weeks, right, when it was new, I suppose. But then I immediately got really tired of it because, man. And it's sad because I kind of like how Palworld takes a lot of elements that we want to see in a Pokemon game, right? Better open world, because obviously the last Pokemon game was just terrible open world game. I think actually, I played a lot of Scarlet and Violet, but the reason I played it is because I love the PvP, right? I love to actually compete on tournament, and I was like a very high-ranked Japanese player. Yeah, I was playing basically only Violet in Japanese, right? I guess all the Japanese players. I was very high ranked actually for a while there. So I like that game a lot still. In the actual, Pokemon PvP, right? But open world of Violet was terrible. So Palworld comes out there, right? And we get like the open world that we kind of dreamed of for Pokemon for years, right? But the actual gameplay of Palworld, I think, is terrible. Yeah, I don't want to have this stupid like. It's kind of fun the whole this like Pikachu with a gun, but I don't want to have some kind of real time. I want Palworld with like turn-based fights, you know what I mean? Like, why can't anyone just make that game? Why can't anyone make Palworld with Pokemon's actual system, where it's open world and you fly around and you find all these Pokemons, but when you go into them, you get an actual Pokemon fight. I want the strategy, turn-based. I don't want this like kind of weird gunfighting, real-time throwing stuff thing, right? So I got really tired of Palworld pretty quickly. And otherwise, building the base was, I think, was like fine. Yeah, the Rust part of it. Yeah, you can shoot, you can enslave people, you can throw them into your boxes, but it's just like, to me it was just like, no, I think the game was just, I think it's very very overrated because the actual gameplay is not that good. It's just that the world is better than Pokemon, but everything else is terrible. So I put it in this 10-ish game. I still enjoyed it for like a few weeks though, right? But I still anyway, let's keep going. I don't want to just talk about the terrible stuff. What more do we have? Frostpunk 2, also 10-ish game. I like playing a lot of Civilization, EU4 and so on, right? Frostpunk 1, I would never really get into it. I prefer Against the Storm, I think it's a better game. Frostpunk 2, however, of course, is better than the 1. It improves on basically almost everything. But I still didn't think it was like an amazing game. It wasn't an amazing game. So I think it's just like, it's a fine, you basically have to build this city in the cold, right? And it's like a dystopian feel to it. You have to like, oh, do you want your children to die or something, or you want to feed them or eat them or something? Yeah, it's like a dystopian, city management game. But again, this is what I want to make a TD stride, because this game I would never talk about in a top 10 list. But it's like, it's like a top 15 game. Right? It's enjoyable. You can play it a few times. I find an issue with Frostpunk though is that I found it too much like optimal strategy, okay? What I mean with that is that when I play a game like Civilization, there is obviously a lot of good strategy in Civ we should know about, but in Civ you have different kind of ending conditions, and you play different countries, right? You have different strategies, and how the map looks is kind of depending on. But Frostpunk, both 1 and 2, I feel had the issue with, you start the game, and you kind of always have the same, you can play with different maps, but the normal Frostpunk, you kind of start with the same, or in the ice, and then you have basically the exact same strategy for the first like 10 hours of the game. Then you might differ some stuff. And it's a little bit roguelike, because you do find survivors. Again, that's why I prefer this game called Against the Storm, which is very similar to Frostpunk, but it's much more randomized. It's much more like, you find these people, what you do now. So I feel that every time I play Against the Storm, it has a slightly different take on it. Every map is slightly different, right? Frostpunk, I feel, is just too much the same thing. So again, I think it's a 10-inch game, because you play it once, maybe 2-3 more times, because you're gonna improve your strategy. But after that, I'll never touch it again. I mean, it's a game you play 10 hours and you never like touch it again. That kind of feel to it. But yes, thinking about you when I put Dragon's Dogma in, because I know you love it. You want to pretend it's a 10 out of 10 game. So where should we put Dogma 2 then? I actually have Dogma in my number 8 spot, I think. Actually, literally number 8, Dogma 2, baby. Okay, because you're here, my dear friend, we're talking about Dogma 2 then, because I know you love it so much. I put it in, it actually is number 8 on my real list here. And okay, I hate Trickster. I mean, like, I effing hate the Trickster class, okay? You know how much I hate the Trickster. The vocalization of Trickster, I made a whole video about it last year, like, Trickster is the worst game design I ever seen in my life. Until I played, whatever the game was called, it's called now again, 100 Heroes. Oh god, it's so much worse. But, Trickster is just terrible, okay? So first of all then, Dogma 2, right, is, something fantasy game where you find ogres and dragons and so forth, right? And you have different vocations. And I say, I easily give this game a -1 in the score, absolutely, because Trickster is the worst class in the game. It's so terrible. And I had a lot of debates about this, right? Like last year, for like a month, with fans of this game. But the problem with Trickster, and this is what I want to bring up in the beginning here, is that it's not that it's it's easy or too powerful or whatever. Because people try to really misunderstand what I mean by Trickster. The issue with Trickster isn't that you don't do any damage. Trickster can do this cloning and stuff and so on, right? It is too easy. It's too easy, right? I am very, very accustomed to playing these, mind manipulated characters. I usually play a character in most games, right? So I want to play Trickster, and I want to have several different, pawn summoning and this, fort, and that thing. But instead, Trickster basically is a taunt. You taunt them with your clone, then you hide somewhere, and it never dies. And then you buff them with aggressive, gas thing. Like, it's such a limited experience playing a Trickster character. And it feels very, very strange, right? And I think that is honestly an issue in the whole game, because in the game you have your pawns, right? You fight with you, and you have different classes, but it feels very much like some of the classes are very, very clearly better, and so forth. So the game is kind of weird in that sense, and that's just how I feel the whole game is. Right? The whole game feels very like it's a very fun game sometimes, and some other time it's like, oh my god, this game has no polish. It's no balance. One of the super rogue thing is like one-shot everything with the jump thing. The mystical archer can like one-shot a dragon by doing like 20 arrows immediately. The mystical spear guy can make your whole team immortal permanently. That's what I played at the end of the game. Mystical spearman, right? You do the bubble thing, and you can bubble your whole team like every 5 seconds, so no one ever dies. So you can't take damage anymore. So the game is like incredibly imbalanced, and it also goes from, I would argue not too hard, but very hard part of the game, right? And then eventually it becomes incredibly easy instead. Yeah, it starts off kind of hard, because the game is very open, and you run into an ogre and it kills you immediately, and suddenly it's like a chimera and kills you, and that's really fun. It's fun, just going around in the world, and then suddenly you become to high level or something like that, or unlock the better classes, and the game becomes like a cakewalk. So the game is very weirdly balanced too, I feel, right? Where it's really, really fun in the start of the game. Like, it's really, really fun. The first 10 hours, basically. And then it becomes too easy. That's probably one issue too, I feel. Yeah, you can unlock it too much, right? But yeah, that's the good part too. You have definitely a hard mode, exactly a hard mode, and more enemies. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, it's the far too, and yeah, it should be more enemies. That's a problem with the game too. Now I'm not thinking about when you say it, because again, the game is really fun in the beginning. It's open world. You kind of hit crazy monster attacks you, and the way the monster fights you and the way the game works is really fun, because they can grab you and they can run away with you and your paws run after you, and it's really, really enjoyable in the beginning. But the problem is that the game only has like 5 or 6 these like mid-boss enemies. So after a while you get kind of tired of it, because you don't find more unique enemies in the wild, right? If the game had like 20 or so these like ogre kind of enemies, I mean different kind of mid-sized boss guys in the forest, right? The game would be amazing. But it only has like the ogre, the dragon, yeah, it's very few of them, and like the what is it more? Those 2 giant guys, I guess, the Griffiths pose. But yeah, it's like 4, 5, 6 of those like wild boss fights, right? If it had like 20 wild boss fights, the game would be much, much better. So that's probably, it really, yeah, it's like a DLC thing. If you had like a DLC, the game would be probably much better. But yeah, we can do that too. That's a good example. Yeah, absolutely. I love Secret of Mana. You know I love Trials of Mana, right? You know I love Trials of Mana. I have it over there. I can't reach it right now. And I have a bunch of games here, right? You know, I collect all these games. We have Metamorphosis, and you have, you know, the FF7 collector box, right? And all this stuff, right? But if there's one game that of course I didn't have it now here. Whatever, been some tape behind me there. But if there is one game that actually shocked me how good it was. That shocked me how good it was. Insanely how good the game was. It is not. Okay. This is gonna be no use listening to me now. No, it's the point here. Here comes the point, seriously. It's really the biggest point in the video, honestly. If there's one thing that shocked me how good it was, right? It is not Vision of Mana. Trials of Mana. It's a pretty good game. Trials of Mana has a game I have over there, which is the remake of the course Seiken 3, right? So you had Secret of Mana, which is like all-time, you know, best RPG, right? Then you have the follow-up, which is even better game, called Secret of Mana 2, or the Seiken 3, right? The Legend of Mana 3, Super Nintendo, which is like the best game, Super Nintendo. Better than Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana 2. However, that can have a remake called Trials of Mana, to put everything in 3D, and it was an even better game, except it didn't have multiplayer. That was a massive mistake. But otherwise, really good game, right? Now, these guys did not do Vision of Mana as the next part. No, they did Romancing Saga 2 instead, the remake. And I'm gonna throw it out immediately, guys. This game is basically the best game this year. Okay, seriously. This game is effing insanely good. This game, I would say, is here or here. This is arguably the best game this year. Romancing Saga 2. This game is insanely good, okay? So after they made the previous Mana game, they did not work on this game. They went on this game instead. And that game is just insanely good. Another remake of a SNES game, okay? So seriously, if you want to play an old school JRPG game to it, right? I would say that Romancing Saga 2 is arguably the best game this year. No one talks about it. It's a very, like, you know, unknown game. And I hated it. Like, when you look at, you know, Game Awards or whatever, right? They don't even mention this game. But this game here is like the best game this year. Like, seriously. I'm gonna jump in the list here. But this game here, Vision of Mana, made on studio, it's kind of down here. It's like a 10-inch game. But this game is like the best game. Like, it's insanely good. So the guys that made the previous Mana game then, Trials of Mana, instead made this game. And it is a masterpiece. If they made this game, it probably would have been like top 10, right? So it is insanely good, okay? So let's start with them both then, right? Start them at the same time, first of all then. Vision of Mana, it's a mana game. It's pretty fun. I think definitely it's a 10-inch game here, where it's not as good as the previous games, but it has that classic mana feel to it. It's a good, music, kind of fast, kind of going music, which also been good for mana games. Kind of colorful, fluffy enemies, you know what I mean? Different kind of characters, different playabilities. So it kind of has all the mana things, but it's just kind of like not as good as the old games. Not as good as the previous games, right? And I think I would put it in like somewhere genuinely like 11, 12%. But it's a decent game, and I think Vision of Mana is a perfect example of a game. I think you should play it, but I think you shouldn't buy it at full price, It's a perfect game where you buy it at discount, You buy it for half the price, something. But you will definitely enjoy Vision of Mana if you enjoy the previous Mana games. But it does feel like a worse used Mana game. And also, unfortunately, everyone that worked on Vision of Mana, that game, they all got like fired the next day. They did some really weird story where there was like a new studio that made that game for Square Enix, and then they immediately closed it the next day or something. Well, actually, they were for like a Chinese studio or Tencent. It was something really weird story. I can't remember exactly now. But they basically got fired the next day, even before the game was like released or something. So there's not gonna be a DLC or anything because the game is basically, I don't know, very, very strange. Even before they knew how much money the game made. So very, very weird idea there. But let's jump into this game then. Jumping ahead a little bit here, but I gotta put it here probably. It's one game that I probably actually put in top. But while we're at the JRPG remakes here then, this game, I can't hold myself anymore to talk about it. I can't hold myself. The whole video is gonna be about this game, right? I must put some lamps here because the sun didn't go down, but it's just really misty here. It's something last time I had a stream. It's like really. It's completely white outside. It's winter, I guess. It's just like a typical like hail thing. You start the stream, it looks beautiful in sunlight, and now it's just weird. But anyway, perfect then. Sunlight, we're back, baby. This game, it's probably my favorite. This is my favorite game this year. Remember Saga 2. Necessarily not the best game this year then, but because I have one other game I think is better, arguably. But Saga Remember 2, man. This game is just absurdly good, and it's just weirdly good too. You play the game, and you're like, it's just like a typical JRPG, whatever. And you're like, no, it is. The game is so weird, right? So first of all, it takes all the classic Saga, bits, right? Of like, it's hardcore like hell. It's permadeaths. Characters are dying everywhere. It's super weird, and this game is so free. So first of all, the Saga games, right, are famously open world speaking. They're not, they've never been linear, and I played most of them in the past, right? My favorite is Saga Fantasia 2, which is the best game, PlayStation 1, right? So they're not linear. So, but the thing is that in all those games, basically, when you do stuff in the open world, right, fight bosses or whatever, the time passes. So when you're playing Remember Saga 2 here now, you go out and defeat a boss, right? Suddenly your character dies because it's like, no, that made the time jump 100 years. So you have to play your grandson now. So you constantly have to change main character. So you basically have this first two guys, right? Leon and Gerard. And then when they're out, you basically have to play and do different classes. So you play like 20 different emperors or empresses in the game. And the game, just that alone is really fun in the game because you have permadeath in the game, right? So you have to protect your life points so you don't lose a character permanently. And you also have to change your other party members too, then, of course, during the time, right? So at the same time, fun joke, you have to, unlock new classes, right? And then you can play this as a new emperor there as a class, and so forth. And every class has different passes you can inherit for the characters and so forth. It's a very complicated system, basically, how you have like 40 different characters, and you have to like try to inherit all the powers and so on. And you have different levels and things. So it's a very, very complicated game. Even more so, as in all Saga games, when you fight enemies, the games get harder, right? So you have to avoid fighting enemies in the game because the game gets too hard, which is really weird. So the game ends up, it's like, it has like a really open world, like not linear, you can go wherever you want. But then it has this really weird play where you're like, but for example, my favorite is unlocking the mermaid. So you want to play a mermaid character, or actually the dancer rather, you have to like fall in love with this mermaid as a male emperor. It can be a female main character now. And then you have to do this like really advanced quest line in one playthrough, like in one before time goes, or else you will fail it, right? Because if you pass to your next character, you're not in love with the mermaid anymore. So you have to like do this super long quest, avoid completing other quests to finally unlock the mermaid, and then your character dies basically because you get murdered in the water. And you're like, what is this game? And the game is beautiful, it's amazing. And also, because they have this constant thing that the game is hard, especially on hard difficulty, and you have life points, which are like permanent things, every fight in this game matters, right? So beginning of the game, I was like reloading fights. So I was like, shit, I lost 3 life points on the boss battle. I had to reload it and do it better. Whereas the character with perma die, right? So you're stuck with that thing too. So the game is like hard, it's weird, it unlocks everything for you. And also for that matter, talking about, you know, the actual set of the game, right? The game has like the evil ant queen is like naked in the game. Robocret is like titties over. So the game is very, like, it's very typical old school Japanese too when it comes to the aesthetics. But it is a really weird. It's a really weird game, honestly, and it takes all this like old school stuff, right? And they don't try to make it easier either. So, for example, it's really funny because when you're playing as a female empress, a female character in this game, and you fight Robocret. Robocret is the only female hero, the heroes of the bad guys. So she's the only female hero. And her power is temptation. She can like seduce your character, right? So she's almost impossible to beat if you play as a male character. You have to play as a 5 female characters to fight her. Something that I just love it in the game. But when I went to her as a fighter the first time, right, I had 4 females with me and a mermaid, right? The 5th has a mermaid, but the mermaid is not immune to temptation because there are only female mermaids. So the mermaid is canonically a Yuri. So I was just like, what is this game? And the game is weird. I love it so much. Think about that. You have to fight the evil hero with 5 females, but if one of the females is a mermaid, she will betray you because the female mermaid will fall in love with the bad guy because all female mermaids are just females, so they're all lesbians. They have no gender, they're only lesbians. You're like, oh my god, this game. Like, that stuff in this game is there in the game. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's true. So, the game is really weird. And it also has a bunch of truly meaningful choices, okay? There's a volcano in this game, the Comerol volcano, and you can either get dark magic by doing this really weird quest line, and then all the salamander people will die. They will die, and you can't get a salamander class then, and you can't get the passive as well. Or you have to save them, and then you can't get dark magic. Like, this game is like seriously hardcore in the sense. You can go to this city in the beginning of the game, and if you don't do that, in my first playthrough, I didn't go to the continent with the knights, the paladins, so they all died. The city is basically like conquered by the bad guys. So I ignored it for like 200-300 years because I went around in all the paths in the world, right? I got the mermaid and so on, I got the ninjas and samurais. Then eventually, late game, I went to like the paladin country. So they were all dead basically. Then they're like ghosts. You're like, what? So they talked like the dead ghost of this kid and so on. They died in the first. So the game is like incredible, honestly, on the meaningful choices, right? Where you as a player, depending on what route you take, it's open world, right? But you don't know where you're going. Depending on what you start as, the other team will basically all die or they will collapse, or you can kill people, or you can betray them, and so on. It is, it's really weird. It's really, really weird, honestly. And it feels fantastic. And then the game is super cryptic. It's super hard, old school. It is, you know, how it used to be back in the days, right? Like I said, permadeath. The game is very hard. The last boss is almost impossible in the game. You're like, what is happening? And then when you finally beat the game, you can then replay the co-op because you have to play the game at least twice, right, to get everything. And then you unlock like super hard mode, which makes the game basically impossible. So you're like, oh yeah, great. But honestly, this is like the best, I think, streamlined RPG experience I had this year. It's just incredible from the start to the end of it. And the game only has like a few flaws, okay? The game has one major flaw though, but after this the game, and that is that it has like no other, RPG elements to it, right? It doesn't have any mini games, there is no side stuff to it, right? So if the game had a bigger budget, it'd probably be the best game easily this year. Because what it lacks, right, I think is that typical thing you expect in a, Japanese role-playing game, where you have some kind of side content, right? And maybe a little more interesting way how to get the best weapons and so forth. Because basically, when you beat in the game once, you unlock, like Game Plus mode, right? There's a new dungeon. You go to that dungeon, and you have to like beat the heroes again in another form or like a speed run. And if you do that, you get like their weapon basically, which is the best weapon in the game then. So it's very easy to get the best weapon, right? So if you had a typical like FF10 or whatever, where you have to get the best weapon by playing Blitzball or playing that thing, and if you had a little more elements to the game, how to get different stuff, right? And so forth, then it would be like the best game, I think, easily this year. But it lacks a little bit of that extra side content, right? Even though some stuff is very, very cryptic and it's and the side quests are really weird. But I mean, honestly, I love it so much because in the beginning of the game, you meet these like martial art monk guys, right? And the monk guy tells you that I want to kill like the dragon in a cave, and if you allow us to kill this slime boss, then allow us to kill the dragon. So I was like, screw that, I'm just gonna go and kill the dragon myself, right? So they won't join you then, yeah, they won't join you. That's stuff. The game is really weird, like you can actually miss out on like half the things in the game. You have to actually understand like, how the system works in the game. And the quests are very, very much like perma-losing and so on. Which of course, again, the Saga game has been also been on the hardcore, right? So that is so great. But it just lacks the extra stuff, the extra side stuff, right? Which the game even better. Yeah, let's a little bit of that. But it's a very interesting game. So I put it up here for now. Jumping into one of my favorite games. Immediately, right? No, but it's an amazing game, honestly. It just lacks that, like, side content, right? Now, another game. Let's take it down then. FF7. Who's behind me here? Collector Edition. Whatever. This game. It is the opposite. This game has everything! It is so crazy. But yeah, no, bro. It's about FF7 now, bro. And this is just like... This game is the reverse of Saga 2, right? This game asks the question, how many minigames can we have in one game? And you just have more minigames. And then more minigames inside those minigames. No, but seriously. FF7 Rebirth, right? It has an insane amount of minigames. Like, it's absurd. It's too many, honestly. Yeah, it's bloated. I mean, honestly, if the game had fewer minigames, it would be a better game. But, all that being said, right? I mean, to be fair, people are complaining about, the game is bloated. And I agree, okay? FF7 is bloated. It should have been slimmed down a bit on this stuff, right? And it would have been the best game this year, honestly. But, still, I think people are too harsh on the game. Because, if you ignore that some of the minigames, frog minigame, that they suck, right? The other minigames are really good, right? And FF7 takes that exactly what I mentioned, right? That unfortunately Saga 2 misses, right? All the side content that makes it even better. So you always have the tower defense in the original game, right? You always have the weird, like, the robot thing, something like that. You always have the Frostpunk racing, right? And so forth, right? So this game takes all of that stuff and just expands on it. Too much, honestly. But still, though, it's so much in that game, right? You know, just, even before we get into the main story of the game and the actual combat and so on, the game is, I think, incredibly enjoyable because I love playing that. You know, it's called Condor Defense, right? Get me started. Except the goddamn gym thing. Yeah, don't get me started on the terrible Tifa at the gym, okay? No, Tifa at the gym is terrible. Yes, it's jiggly, but it's terrible. Don't get me started, man. Everyone hates it, Jesus Christ. No, but first of all, Condor Fort was really fun, I think. The Autobot mini fight was really fun, right? And so forth. So it has a lot of these really interesting, like, side content mini games, right? To make each, like... I said it's really good, interesting to play it. Collectibles, very, very good in that. It has a lot of good extra, like, mini boss fights, right, and so forth, which kind of takes the classic FF13 formula, where some of them are magic immune, physical immune, and so forth, right, interesting fights like that, etc. So it has a lot of this great content like that. The game is super long, though. It takes forever to beat the game, right? Because it's too much stuff. And I agree with that. So it's unfortunate, because if you remove some of the stuff, you know, I hate, you know, all this, like, having to find those, like, six crystals every time, right? Oh, yes, the crystal that tells me something about the world or something. Oh, yes. You're like, oh my god, it's better. Stuff like that, of course, ruins the game to some extent, right? But I still think the game is incredibly good when it comes to the side stuff. He has his own card game, right? Queen's Gambit, which is really enjoyable. That's what I meant with Sega. I mean, I think Sega 2 is a better game still, but if Sega 2, right, had stuff like Queen's Gambit, then it would be the best game to see at East, keep saying, right? Because that is what is missing, right? A really good mini game, which is really enjoyable. That card game was just freaking 10 out of 10, man. Sure, it was too easy at the end of the game, and people are saying it should be its own, like, multiplayer game. It doesn't make any sense because the game is based on you being a single player PvE thing. But it's more a puzzle game, more than a card game, I would say, right? But it's still a very enjoyable puzzle game. And I enjoyed, you know, unlocking a new city, defeating each player, right? And then coming to golden saucer, you have this puzzle with different like missions with the game and so on, right? It has a lot of that stuff, right? The game is just fantastic for everything around, you know, what the game is, right? Oh yeah, the Yuffie song, I have a chocobo, you have a chocobo, yeah, and so forth, right? But then, this is all the side stuff, right? Then we have a good storyline overall. They're rewriting the storyline, which some people hate that. I like it. I like they're rewriting the storyline, right? I think people are, in my opinion, weirdly hateful of the rewrite in this game, because for me it's like, but I much rather have this thing. I much rather have them write a new storyline. It is actually a sequel, pretending to be a remake, I know, but I prefer that, right? That I get more from it than just having the same storyline. I prefer that the game ends with you obviously gonna resurrect Aerith, right? Aerith will be resurrected in the next game, because we all know it, and I like that. I like it that they're giving us. Well, you fan Tifa cult? No. You know I always like Tifa more though. Come on, you know it's like Tifa more, what I'm talking about. But it is fun though when you fish things like I can talk about, you gotta talk about, and then we just have that, you know. The game is really well done, obviously high budget. When you're riding your chocobo, so you're just going around, you just start singing like I got a chocobo, yeah, stuff like that, right? It is fun, got great details to it. And then lastly, the combat system in this game is fantastic, right? Because I hated part 1. I worked on part 1. I hated it. Important to remember that I worked on FF7 part 1, right? And I disdained that game, okay? That game is just so bad because it is so limited, right? It has nothing, what I mentioned, right? There's no mini games, it's a Tifa thing, right? Nothing else. There's no card game, there's no racing. The game has almost nothing, right? There's basically no boss fights in the game. It's only the storyline. There's no side content, right? There's no like fighting the secret bosses, right? There's no Gilgamesh Island, right? So there's basically no hard boss in the first part, no fun stuff. But the combat system felt good in the first part too. But it just had no enemies to fight with, right? Because there was just no hard bosses, no chassis content, right? No extra bosses basically. It had 2 extra bosses. It was incredibly, short and tiny in that sense, right? So in this game instead, now we got like 50 extra bosses, right? And we still have the same combat system, but slightly better. So that was really, really good, right? The combat system always felt that was good, but now I actually have content to deal with it. So I think it's a really good game, man. Yeah, of course you have the harem, obviously. We take them all, man. And, Aerith will be alive soon as well, But overall, a really good game. But that's the honestly bothered me so much with the first part, right? That after you beat the first part, you unlocked 2 like Shinra boss battles in that virtual reality. That's it, right? In this game instead, you have like always an extra boss fight or 2, right, per region, and then you have extra harder boss fights. And then you unlock Gilgamesh Island, and you have so forth. So many extra stuff, which of course again an FF game should have, right? So it's Scarlet, yeah. But lastly though, I want to point it out though overall here that how much I hate FF16, right? FF16 and 15 are terrible games. They're really, really terrible. I hate them massively, right? And I was wrong about 16 to an extent. At first I liked it, but then I was like, oh, it's terrible too. I did like it in the beginning. Oh yeah, female captain. Oh yeah, she was the best one. Yeah, oh yeah. The blonde female captain that you have to do this parade with. Yeah. So that stuff. Thank you. That stuff. Exactly. People are complaining with me. I love that stuff in FF7. You have to do the parade with your rifle and so on. See, I love that shit. Yeah, FF7 has, it's bloated, absolutely, but it has all, I like that stuff, I think the issue, right, because of the bloat of 7, is, as I mentioned, right, it's the weird side quests. You have to find, it's like, materia 6 times, and you have to, pick these 6 plants 6 times. You have to press on the puzzle thing, with the... To unlock the summon, you have to do the puzzle thing 4 times or whatever. That stuff that is too much of. That stuff is boring and it's completely, brain dead. You have to go to a location, press a button 6 times, or do an easy, an easy puzzle, you have to press a button 3 times. Those stuff are bloating the game way too much. Remove half of that and the game will be better. But it shouldn't remove this fun stuff like the hot commander and the parade stuff. That sounds awesome. So it's... No, yeah. No, but 16, I hate 16, right? And I said first I liked it, which is true. And obviously I love Mom, though. I love, of course, his mom. Clive's mom, she's freaking best mama in FF7, man. Evil MILF, man, are awesome. But the problem with 16, and I've said it many times, but I'll say it briefly here again then, is that it's just so easy, right? It is just so easy. 15 had the same issue, right? That it was also far too easy. The enemies do nothing. But 16 is even worse. So I like 16 more than 15, because the storyline is better. 15 is a really weird storyline, which I have a hard time liking the storyline of 15, right? So 16 is like, okay, the storyline is good, Mom is good, I like Clive, Yield, and so on, the characters are good, but it's just, I keep saying it, but 16 basically is like a movie, right? There is too many cutscenes, there's too much thing happening in the cutscenes, VFX effects, but it's like no gameplay, right? Because the actual fights in 16 are so easy. You can't lose the fight. I can never died once in the game. You basically just avoid stuff forever. You do one dash, you get it avoids everything. Dash makes Clive immune to damage for like 10 seconds, right? Yeah, it's ridiculous. And you basically only do that, it's like, Devil May Cry combos. And I hate also when people keep saying that, no, but 16 is great. It's Devil May Cry. No, Devil May Cry I actually like, okay? I love Devil May Cry because Devil May Cry is much harder. Devil May Cry, the combos are harder to do, they're interesting, and the enemies try to avoid you, right? But at 16, the enemy you stand there like, you just die. It's super boring. But I really like Devil May Cry 5, playing V. Not Dante and Nero, but V, right? The third new character. He could summon his 3 animals. You could do combos with the animals on distance, and it was really, really fun. So, no. Devil May Cry has really, really fun combos. That is not the case for 16. And yeah, definitely I'll react to Sakamoto tomorrow, yeah. It's unfortunate that Sakamoto days and solo leveling airs at the same time, basically. Especially tomorrow, the 2 episodes tomorrow. But yeah, Saturdays are definitely the big anime days now. Sakamoto days and solo leveling. And also, of course, Okinawa and Gals. I barely even follow too much 14. But, I don't know. For me, storyline. It's a little bit neutered. I do think that the character look pretty boring. 16 also, 14 had the boring character design as well, but for me it's mostly the gameplay. It's just so brain dead, right? It's just so boring. And some people tend to say that the issue with 16 is it's not turn-based, They talk about games like Metamorphosis and so on, right? And say, look at this is a turn-based game, it's way better. And I did like this game much more so. But no. The issue isn't that it's turn-based, right? Or real time 16. The issue is that it's just terribly easy. But anyway, while we're at it then, take another role-playing game then. Where is it? Metamorphosis! Here. Okay, bam, baby. Not that high. I put it at... My real list for it is number 6, actually. So I did put it slightly higher. I put it slightly higher than Unique Overlord. I put it here. So it'll be accurate, so it'll be there then. So, why have you own role-playing games? And this is a lot of good role-playing games this year. Oh, dubs. Do you watch dubs? Are you a dub viewer? I never thought about you. You're a dubber? I have no idea what dubs whatever happens in nor in video games, nor in anime, because I watch everything in Japanese. Jesus Christ, man. But anyway, Metamorphosis though, talking about the voices there. Of course, Saga Hayami, right? Beloved Yamato is Hulkenberg. So that's the only thing I care about, Only thing I care about. Well, you're gonna like this part now then, maybe, Rabnad. So we have Metamorphosis, which of course the Vogue thinks are the best game ever, right? I think it's somewhere here, probably, in like the good game, but not the best game. So, Metamorphosis, I rank it at number 7 this year. And, what can I say? First of all, this game has been, as I said, right, promoted as the Vogue game of the year, right? Because it's all about inclusivity, and you're fighting racism and so forth, right? But this game to me is kind of interesting, honestly, in that sense, when it comes to use the Vogue stuff, because I don't find the game actually very Vogue per se. I mean, certainly it's very like, in your face, like this guy is basically a you and this hate them and so on. But otherwise, the game basically is written as a typical JRPG, right? You know, FF7 or whatever. You have this giant evil guy called Lewis. He's supposed to kill everyone, right? And you are playing the good guys, you're gonna stop him, right? So it's very much otherwise the basic storyline of a typical, again, role-playing game where the guy wants to be God and you wanna stop the evil God, right? It's not much more complicated than that, honestly. But this game, obviously, then, is very similar to like Persona, right? So if you like Persona games, I love Persona 5. I think one of the best ever made, right? Persona 5 Royale, especially. I have a big poster over there, right, of obviously Queen, you know, Makoto and Anne, Lady Anne, right? So if you like Persona games, you know exactly what this game is going to be, right? Half the game is you going on dates with characters, and the other half is you playing like some kind of role-playing elements. And I did, of course, really enjoy this game. Being a big Persona fan, it's a good game overall. And I actually kind of like the storyline. It has some good twists, actually, with the main character. So it wasn't actually that bad. And honestly, again, it isn't that either, you know, even though it is very much like inclusivity and diversity and so on, it is not written as a woke character, right? I made a video last year when I compared this game to Dragon Age. And obviously, Dragon's Vilgard is like, I am trans! You know, it's kind of like that, you know. I mean, it's very written like, it's written like a 5-year-old, right? Where Metamorphosis is actually written by Japanese people. They can write stuff. So it's like, if you have a trans character, it is, you know, a subtle development that is written on the sideline, and it's not like so it's a much different thing. It doesn't feel but exactly, I would say it's a good word for it, co-opt. Yeah, exactly. Did you see my video about that? I made a video about that exactly, right? I made a video where I called "Don't Fall for the Woke Tactics." Thank you. Last year. The second what I mean there, good word for it, co-opt. It is a game that has the thematic of race and so on, right? But it's not written like a woke game whatsoever. It's not written as, you know, this character is good or bad because of certain things, right? It's written like a normal Japanese role-playing game. So none of the characters are... Stop with your Freya obsession now. No, but it's like... It's not written like that. However, the problems I have with the game, okay, and why I only find like a 7 out of 10 or so, or an 8 out of 10, like an IGN score, no, but like, you know, in the middle, is because it's basically just a worse Persona. End of today, it is not as good as Persona 5. And it's basically Persona 6, right, more or less, but in the fantasy world. And it's really improved on like anything, really, except the arc system, coming to that later. But mostly it's just like, the dates in the game are less interesting. I think a problem with the game is that they don't have the side content that actually Persona has. So for example, in Persona 5 you have the fishing game and the dart game, and it's these mini games, right? So you actually can maybe go have like a mini game date with a character, but in this game you basically just hang out with them. So it lacks a little bit of contextual what you're actually doing in the game. But a big problem with this game actually is that a large part of the game, end of the game, is just completely dead space. It's a really weird way to explain it, but basically, right, in the Persona games and Metamorphosis, you have a number of dates on you until you have like a boss fight, right? So you have to like go on these dates and get this stuff before you have the boss fight, before you have to do a dungeon, right? And when you've beaten like half the game or so, the game gives you way too much time, okay? Seriously, right? So what I like in Persona and also Metaphor overall is kind of meaningful choices. You have to say, what should I do today? Should I go on a date with Yuna, or should I do this thing, or should I try to go with Ifya, or should I do the dungeon? You have to make, you as a player have to make an active choice, right? What do I want to prioritize? You know what I mean? And in Persona games, that typically is you have too few days, so you can't do all three. You can only do one of them. You have to replay the game or do it perfectly from the beginning to get everything in one playthrough, right? But in this game instead, it is way too much time. So after half of the game, you can do all three of them all the time, and it basically completely removes any like urgency or any tension, right? Because the game is like you have 30 days on you. You're like, okay, I want to have 10 more days. So I play the game right as a Persona expert, right? Did everything perfectly, constantly, right? And then eventually in the game, at the last month in the game, like the last 30 days, I was done with the game. I had everything perfect score. I have smashed everyone. Perfect. Romance, all the characters, and I was like, oh, so what do I do now then? Just skip date. Yeah, it's really weird. So it feels like the game maybe should have one more dungeon, something like that. It feels like the whole last part of the game is kind of whatever. It's very, very strange feeling, honestly. And then you get to this like kind of 3 extra dragon fights, but each dragon fight is in the same dungeon again. So instead of having a new dungeon, they just reuse all the old dungeons, so having like a new boss there and so on. So they fitted the game completely, had no budget left for the second half. It's really weird. So basically it's like a 10 out of 10 game in the first half, and in the second half you feel like, okay, here they really had no money left. It's a very weird feeling to the game. It feels very like the developer just had no budget left at all. It's very, very strange feeling. And then also it does actually lack, like I mentioned, right, all the side content. Yes, it has the dating stuff, it has to go on a romance with the cute girl, but it lacks the mini games, the side stuff, all the missions. It's kind of weird. It does lack a lot of that typical what you expect from a AAA RPG, like FF7 has in a bundle. Right? It's way too much of it. Yeah, in nothing like that. So that also is kind of weird in that game. It has nothing at all. With what you can do on the side stuff, and overall the game also is too easy. It's like, but that is a personal problem too. The game gets too easy from an actual gameplay standpoint, right? Yeah, the master meter is pretty good, and the meter is pretty easy to do, right? But anyway, what do we have now? Do you want to put up a game that we should talk about? Where is? Let's do Elden Ring, okay? Elden Ring. Elden Ring, I put it in here, right? Because they had it in the Game Award and so on. And honestly, I would put it up here if you're gonna be just factual about it. But I don't have. But Elden Ring to me is a little bit weird. Obviously DLC, you know, and so forth, right? But to be honest, so I would put it in like a must play. Let's pretend it's a new game, so to speak. So Elden Ring, right, is a DLC. We all know that. Now. In that sense, I don't want to have it in the list, right? But because, like I said, it's been in many people's list for one reason. But more so, you know, Elden Ring Shadow of Earth 3, it's a giant DLC, right? It's very, very big. It also costs more money than a normal DLC. It's like $40, probably where you live, right? Where I live at least. Instead of like, you know, $20 or $5, right? So I find it kind of strange, honestly. Some people are very angry, right, that it was included in our list. But for me, Elden Ring Shadow 3 is more like Elden Ring 2, honestly. Even though it isn't a full sequel, right? It's more like a 1.5 or something. I do think it is a weird point to make, honestly. People are so angry over this thing being included. Because, again, this is a giant DLC. And it costs more, right, than a normal DLC. So I think it's a little bit in that kind of shadow realm, so to speak, right? Where is it a new game? It's a 2-part game. It has no Freya, that's true. But this game is really good, right? Elden Ring Red Core is a very good game. But I played Earth 3, right? And yeah, I loved it. Like every minute of it. It's a fantastic sequel, so to speak, then, right? Great boss fights, interesting design. Too easy, I would say, though, absolutely. I don't even mean that I mean it's too easy. Have you seen my video where I killed the last boss taking damage? He's super easy if you have my badass Legionnaire rot build, I call it. But honestly, I find the game to some extent too easy. And I really mean that, because the problem I have with this game, honestly, is that either some of the bosses are either impossible. They have these really weird mechanics and whatever, right? And then you make a counter build to that boss, and then it's too easy. Then you have a build like, I see, but this guy can't handle fire magic. And then you respect the fire magic and you kill him one attack. Right? So it's like, I feel like if you have the correct build, everything in the game is far too easy, honestly. But as a side note, seriously, when I see people that being stuck in this game and they die over and over again, I don't get it. It's what's called a Sisyphus task, right? Where you keep pushing the same boulder over and over again. No, just respect, goddammit. Respect, you know? Respect. Put that Freya build on it. No, but seriously, I don't get that people don't respect in this game. I've seen so many YouTubers, right, that for some reason have more stuff. I don't care, but they're playing a game, and I'm like, why don't they respect for? Why don't they like change or shield something? Yeah, put on another weapon or something. Yeah, this doesn't work on this boss. It's super weird, but overall, it's a really good experience. As you know, the cool Midra forest things, has great gameplay. It's a really nice level design, also, right? I'm really, really impressed by the level design in this game. It's a really fantastic with how they're making the world work around, right? you down a cliff and you go down underneath, and suddenly you're over here, you can go in a cave and you can get up here again, and it's like a really interesting how everything connects in the world, and how you have different cliffs and doors, and how everything kind of just, it's like an interesting, you know, like an I don't know, like a spider web or something of webs, or like an ant, you know, hill or something. It's a very interesting level design. I mean, genuinely, it has the best level design I think this year. It's a fantastic level design, and also the level design is much better in the DLC than is in the original Elden Ring. I think easily so. It's a very, very, I think, fascinating good level design. Seriously, and it's also why it's so big, right? Because you look at the map, it's like half the size of the previous game. So they know, but it's actually like 3 layers of underground, right? It's really interesting how it works. So that is true, though. I mean, sometimes you do play with the same build for sure. Absolutely. Sometimes I played strength both the first runs, but I changed from strength to fate, right? Like strength fate when in DLC, because you basically have too much diminishing returns, right? After like 6 strength. So I started playing the DLC. I had my like 60 strength, 60 fate. And that build was just amazing, right? So you have either Fire Medic or Rot Medic, and I would just devastate everything with Rot Medic, basically. And I had like, a shield and a hammer or a 2-hander, but I actually played a lot with shield. And that's a weird thing too, that, as a side note, I don't understand either. People are very obsessed in Elden Ring with dodging. You know what I mean? People are very obsessed with dodging stuff. They have to roll, right? I was just like, I play strength, giant shield, just yeah, why would I dodge for? Yeah, I don't know. People are obsessed with that idea. They had to roll everything, do a barrel roll. I'm just like, no, I'm just gonna defend instead, stand still and defend instead. Overall, though, I try to use DPS as much as I can, right? But very weird, I feel. So that is, I think, interesting though. Elden Ring brings out the worst in people's abilities. Yeah, they're terrible players. They get stuck in this really weird. But anyway, you know what Elden Ring is, but it's somewhere up there. But sure, it also might be done here, but it's a DLC, so I'll leave it up there for now. But I think it is a better designed game, in the first game, right? I think it's better, yeah. Especially level design. It's so good. Some more builds and so on. Now, what more do we have? We can try out this like bottom tier game I don't really care about. Just throw some in the bottom, maybe. Yeah, exactly. You gotta have the cosplay. What more do we have? It's like up there in the middle. That isn't that good. I can obviously just say this thing. Okay, this thing here, this thing here. This is do a little bit cheating here, something like this. I'm not gonna react. I never liked Apothecary. I never got into Apothecary, but I'm gonna watch after the stream. Now I'm gonna react and review the new anime with the girl being a guild master or guild clerk. This will be today. Apothecary I never got into. Maybe one day. But anyway, here's a bunch of like 10-ish games. So I put them in the list. Just clean up a little bit there. Princess Peach, pretty good game. Ronin is a game that I probably like more than most people. And I probably put it somewhere here, probably. So I'm a big fan of Neo, right? I like Neo games. I like Wulong. But I don't know. Ronin is like a game that I really would like to love. And I remember, correct me if I'm wrong here, but wasn't Ronin released on the same day as Stellar Blade? I believe it was released on the same day as everyone's beloved Stellar Blade, right? So that just completely, that made the game basically be unknown, right? Stellar Blade is a better game, top of the suit of course, but Stellar Blade is a better game, and also Ronin, it was just like really, I think it was released on the same day, something like that, and it was just like, yeah, or was it Dogma 2 maybe? It was something like that. It was released between those two games. It had like a terrible release day, and it was just like. But I like Ronin. I wish it was better though. But it had the potential to be like the next Neo 3-ish thing, right? But it is an interesting game because I think it had like an incredibly bad release date and everything, and everyone kind of forgot about it. But I put it somewhere here, of course. Well, Stellar Blade is going to be highly rated coming up sooner, of course. But yeah, Stellar Blade massively, not only is it a better game, but also of course controversial, right? With even ass and tits and everything. Of course, Stellar Blade is also massively a bigger game in this game, by far, of course. on every media, right? But anyway, it's kind of the bottom games I care about. Let's say, I like If You're Nikki. This is my number 10 game, you know. It's a cute girl, it's Elden Ring, but you're playing a cute girl instead. I like this game, come on. You're going around there, you're picking up stuff, come on, it's a fun game. It's a fun game, okay? No, I want to talk about a bitter game. Okay, let's talk about Hades 2. This is either my, like, I think I had possibly like number 10 or something. What put the Hades in Hades 2? Yeah, I put it at 10 exactly. Okay, I put it 10 exactly. I put it here then. It would be the top 10-ish game then. So when I made the Hades game. So, yeah. Hades 2, right? It is very much Hades 1. Just slightly better. I really like this game, okay? It's a very addictive roguelike game, right? You fight stuff, Diablo style, you slay them, you get better items, right? You get god boons, and you keep doing it. The problem with the game is that you do it like once or twice, and then get bored by it. No, but kinda, so, you said the first game, after you beat the last boss then, spoilers now then, Kronos is the first last boss, then you have the upper side of it. But after you do that a few times, and you can do it every time you play the game, it gets really boring, I feel, right? And then of course you can make it harder, you can turn off some difficult stuff, but generally speaking, Hades 1 and 2 are games that I am addicted to. I love them for like the first, 20, 30 hours, whatever, right? And then you beat the game, and then you're like, hey, now it's over. So, but yes, coming to that, I knew you were gonna get triggered. I knew you would be triggered by that. But of course, one thing that puts Hades down massively is how incredibly woke it is, right? And as I always keep saying, right, I don't like using the word woke. I prefer the word PC, right? No, but I mean, I do actually definitely prefer the word PC. But I don't like to be the guy who sound like a broken record. Oh, it's woke, it's wokey. But Hades is absolutely wokey. First of all, not it's a game, but I had to use like block that. So on Reddit, I spent time on Reddit, right, to stuff and so on, and I commented on Hades post when the game was new, right, like some tier bits and so on, obviously so mostly about the gameplay. And after that, Reddit keeps showing me Hades 2, posts, right, and they're all basically like lesbian or ugly Yuri or ugly yaoi stuff, right, all the time. It is something that is woke, is the Hades community. Yeah, it's incredible. It is incredible how woke the community is. The community, or this active community in Hades, are obsessed with like shipping all the characters all the time, and it looks like a hentai all the time. It's really disgusting, honestly. Not because I don't like Yuri stuff or yaoi stuff, but because it's just like ugly Western style yaoi, you know what I mean? But it's a very different. But anyway, that's really weird. Honestly, it's very, very weird. They're like main community. And that's why I think the Hades 2 is so much more woke than the first game. Because I guess that the developers, right, they see their, I wouldn't say the actual community, but the active community, right, the active guys on their forums, they're all obsessed with like shipping everyone's a lesbian and so forth, right, fat and ugly. So they see it all the time. So this is what our fan wants, right? But obviously those guys are like 1% of the actual fans, but they're the 1% like the loud minority, right? But anyway, yeah, the game has incredible ugly design. Like it's like insane. Hephaestus in a wheelchair, it looks so ridiculous. Obviously Hestia with her like black face or something. Hestia is supposed to be white, right? But she has like, but honestly, Hestia, first people said vitiligo, like her skin, but she's supposed to be like suit face or something. There's just too much, like coal or something in her face, which is the heart of the fire. So it is like really weird, yeah. Because I'm like, is she doing blackface or not? Like seriously, Hestia is like a really ugly fat woman that is probably doing blackface. It's a very, very uncomfortable character design. Honestly, it's so bad. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Honestly. Luckily though, both Hestia and Fighter are worse character, yeah. Hestia is also unplayable bad too. She's a really bad character, yeah. Horrible character. But it's basically a better Hades 1 game, right? And also then they're adding the open world, so you have like more bosses and more weapons, so I don't know. I thought it's a really good game, but it has a lot of issues to it. Anyway, not the game you want to talk about now. Or should we go to the better games? Talk about the waifu games. So a couple of other games that I feel is like 10-ish, right? Is where I put that game? Probably around 11, 12 exactly. Kind of the same value. Is Zelda. I put it probably here. Yeah, Zelda is like a good game, you know. It's like a remake on the previous Zelda games, you know. You can see it before, but now playing Zelda, with all the powers. I enjoyed it. It wasn't like the best game ever. Same thing with Peach I have over here, you know. It's kind of the same thing, right? Like similar Mario game, not the best. But actually, maybe Peach is better because it's more innovative. But yeah. Yeah, it does need more Lily outfits, so that's true. Another game that I found in the bottom here is kind of like Space Marines 2. Also a decent game, but the same thing I feel with like similar to like Hades, a game I play for 10 hours a lot and then you don't enjoy it anymore. I don't know. For me, it's like, I think Palworld, same thing here. It's a game you play it, it's roguelike, you enjoy it for the first bits. You know, I think for example, I like for example Slay the Spire, right? Which is coming out soon, right? And the second version of that. And then you have, you know, Balatro and it's, you know, the whole roguelike and so on. But I think all these games, same with Hades, has an issue, right, where it's like I played this game for like 10 hours, you know what I mean? I enjoy it a lot, but then it's really boring after that, you know. Same thing with Slay the Spire. I played a lot when it was new. Oh my god, it's so fun. Play every class, right? And you play each hero for 10 hours, then I get over, then you never play it again. So I feel it's a lot like that with Balatro as well. You kind of play it a lot for the first thing. Tesla Zero, I think it's pretty good actually. I put it over here. Also, but it's still again, you know, 10-ish game, right? Have I taken, okay, Helldiver. I feel it's overrated, but I put this over here also. Enjoyable game. But honestly, 70 minutes per here. It takes 10 hours, really fun. Then stop playing it. So it's again like, you know, a 10 top-ish game, right? Now, here we go, guys. Now we can like, clean up this mess there. We have the real games left now then, okay? Which game do you want to talk about next then? We got the Eve game, the Fantasia, the Wukong, and of course the Ichiban and the Kinru-san game. But okay, let's start with Astrobot then, which of course I would put somewhere in the 10-ish game, somewhere here, you know. I'll probably put it somewhere in the bottom here. It's just like, I love to hate an Astrobot, you know, it's my favorite pastime event, but I really don't see Astrobot being a very good game, right? People get angry at me every time I say that, oh, it's just the best Polish fun time experience ever. And I always question if there are bots or not, but, you know, Astrobot is just a fun platform game to me, right? Do I enjoy it more than Zelda? No, and I don't. I don't enjoy it more than I enjoy, you know, Zelda, right? Do I enjoy it more than Princess Peach? Not really. This for me are kind of like the same. This to me are kind of like the same, right? It's like, okay, a platform game is pretty fun. Platform game is pretty fun. I mean, this is all I hate platform games, but I hate that this game won the Game & Watch. Of course, the Game & Watch are completely rigged and have no value, but it's just like, this game is just a fun game, right? And there are other games that are fun. But honestly, I think it was really interesting because people defended this game last month then, really, when it won. They all defended by saying it's a polished and fun game. You know what? It's a polished and fun game. This is a polished and fun game. This game is like incredible polished and fun game. Much better than Astrobot. Much longer too. Astrobot's on like a 10-hour game too. 8-hour game. You can beat it in like a 1 day. Yeah. This is like a 100-hour game. Beat everything game. This game is very short and very expensive. It's like $70 to $80. Where I live is like $80 for a. It costs like $80 where I live for a 10-hour game. You know. It's just, yeah, Peach is better, the assets, yeah, it's just like a really weird game. Unicorn Overload, very fun gameplay. I mentioned earlier, I hate the storyline, but a very fun gameplay. It's like a 100-hour game, yeah. Costs less money than this game, you know. I'm sorry, but I hate people defend this game because it is not the fun, it's not, like, say anything. It is not even the most fun I had, you know what I mean? There are other games, there are 7 other games this year that I had more fun with playing them, right? From a pure, like, fun standpoint, 10 out of 10 fun. And this game only has that very, you know, basic platform thing. No other stuff happening, no storyline, no side content, right? No real, like, cutscenes, whatever you call it, but nothing extra on the side. There's no lore, there's no characters, you know what I mean? And it's super short. It's 10 hours at max. It's like, I see people defending it, and they're like, oh, but it's a fun game. You're like, yeah, there are other games that are fun too. And honestly, the reason that I think people defend this game so much is because when I talk to these fans of this game, right, their favorite games are games like Uncharted, The Last of Us, other very, very mainstream AAA, obviously boring shitty games like Horizon Zero Dawn and so on. So people I see defending Astrobot are also fans of Sony's bloated overworld shit games, right? The terrible, terrible games that no one is supposed to play, right? There's so many games that are way, way more entertaining than Astrobot, and also more entertaining than Horizon Zero Dawn and so on, right? But if you only play Sony's like giant AAA games, they're super bloated, super slow, terrible combat design, those games. And if you only play those games, then Astrobot for you is like a fresh, oxygen. It's like, oh, I can finally breathe again. Yeah, you're like, oh my god, I can move, it's gameplay, right? But that's because you don't play games. I play games based on gameplay, first and foremost, right? I keep saying, so far, see the best game here this side, Rubber Saga 2. Very good gameplay, right? This game is much more fun than Astrobot for me. It's like, what? It's a very weird game that has so much people enjoying it. Or, I get you enjoying it, but like I said, it's just a fun game. You have other games that have also fun. And for example, Stellar Blade now, coming out sooner now, Stellar Blade is a much funnier game than Astrobot, I think. Come on, we're coming to the last bit now. You gotta keep remaining now. You gotta fight hard now. Though, because Stellar Blade and Wukong, we got only the last bit left now. But before we do the last bit then of the Stellar Blade and so on, I want to talk about very shortly Neo Fantasia, which I put at here in the middle then. So this game here, it's like somewhere up here, okay? I put it almost in must play, and this game is really interesting. So yeah, you gotta stay awake, bro. You gotta stay awake. You have to be quick here, okay? So first one, this game was released on iPhone first, like 2 years ago, whatever. But here's the full game of the Switch now and PS5 and so on. So Neo Fantasia, seriously, let me go over here. I wanna promote this game. Neo Fantasia is fantastic, okay? Like, it's a game you probably haven't heard about, but basically it is Miss Vault Studios, right? So it's Hironobu Sakaguchi, Nobuya Mutsu, right? It's Final Fantasy, guys. It's the Final Fantasy coming out with a new game that basically plays like FF7. It's a fantastic game, seriously. I played the game now over this winter now. It was released like a few weeks ago, and it's one of the best games this year. And it feels like I'm back playing FF7 F8, right? It's like PlayStation 1 graphics to it. And the storyline is really good. All likable characters. It's a really long game. It's kind of country feel to it. You have like different worlds, different dimensions, 4 different dimensions. That's pretty much jump around. And basically after half the game is played, right, you open up the game world. You can jump around all the different story elements, and the game does this thing, which is really interesting. So you kind of unlock a new character. Or you talk to this guy called Tam, example. I'm at his island now in the game, and you talk to Tam, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm talking about my wife." And suddenly you get like a 20-minute text strolling game with voice lines, and it's like this cool like visual behind it. Well, if they had more money, it would be custom, I guess. But still, so you get like 20-minute like book about this guy's life, right? So every character has like huge long like backstories, and it's so much depth per character, and it really really feels like I'm playing FF7 or something like that, FF8 or whatever. Right? Like this is Final Fantasy 9 or 7 or something. And it done by the same guys. And the music, of course, Uematsu, right? The king of music, Nobuya Uematsu. You can really feel it. Oh my god, this is sad music, the sad tunes. You really feel like this sounds like Ares team, not exactly. So you really feel like, oh my god, it's the sad music guy. It is a fantastic game if you like Japanese role-playing games. It's just a really, really good game. And it surprised me too. So a very minor spoiler here, but it's a gameplay spoiler, or mechanic-wise. After I played the game for about 20 hours, I unlocked the game's talent tree. I was like, what? I've been playing the game, I'm like level 35, 40, and now I get the game's talent tree. And it's basically because the talent tree is based on items you have to unlock the characters. And then only the main character's talent tree, you have to get the other guy's talent trees by doing different side stuff. So, but I was like, what? The game has a talent tree too? It's like, it's so much in the game. It has really funny jokes, everything. It's just really well written. It really feels like a return to form, right, to speak, for these old Japanese developers. Coming back to a really, really good remake. And it's basically everything that I lacked in 100 Heroes, where they felt that they just took a big dump on their previous games. This game is just everything that they, F7 is good with, and so on. So that's a really good game. And also, lastly, we played on this remake, new version down to Switch and PS5. You can also pick music. So you can play the game with FF music, FF7 and so on, yeah. So I'm playing the game currently in my playthrough with now with FF7 music and Japanese sound effects. So you're like, yes, and so on. But yeah, it's like a weird game to explain it. But basically, it's like if you like the old good FF games, and I like this game more than Metamora, definitely. The only issue it has, though, same thing with Metamora, is it has no other content to it. There's a lot of options and so on, but yeah, the only lag it has for being a true FF game, right, is that lag. Then there's no card game, there's no racing, there's no other mini games to it. I still like how you unlock everyone's, for example, their talent trees by having to kind of discover their lore and figure out their emotions or whatever. So basically, the talent tree is unlocked by unlocking their like destined item plus their emotions. So which is sad too. So one of the characters, I thought she was gonna unlock love or something, but she instead unlocked like emptiness. Yeah, this one character, his backstory is that his like sister died or something, and then you learn that it's gonna like unlock compassion and love. No, he unlocks loneliness and like solitude. He unlocks the this very strong feeling of having no friends and no family. So then he unlocks his weapon because he's like, I'm so sad. He's like, I guess that's also a way to unlock your powers by being super sad. Yeah, it's like, so the game is really tragic too, right? But it does lack, again, still the gameplay mechanics, right? Oh yeah, lastly though, here's a new take on the combat system. So yeah, it's very good. It's all the roleplay game, FF7, the music, everything, but also has a new interesting system, turn-based fighting. So every ability in the game has a kind of circle motion. So you have to show this kind. This is very hard to explain. You basically attacks everything with like different geometric figures. Okay, so every magic or every attack has like a kind of like an angle, or it flies behind them or something, and it's really weird to explain it, but here's a good image of it. It's very hard to explain otherwise, but you basically curve everything, or you throw them behind them and so on. So you can get it. Yep, this is good enough. So hard to explain otherwise, but basically, right, when you're playing the game, you're getting like, you can see here, right, so you can throw a holy spell in this game, and then you have to like decide how it's gonna fly. So honestly, this game is just fantastic because it also takes the classic, role-playing, turn-based elements, right, in a new take on it. So every spell has different kind of angles. So Holy is thrown in like an angle. You can throw it like this or throw it like really like that. Where, for example, Lightning Slash is thrown in a piercing angle in a line. So everyone in a line, all the spells go in a circle, right, different kind of figures. And then you have to try to aim it at the most enemies or most allies, right, to begin with. However, the game takes another step to be even better, and that is that the further you play the game, you unlock this like warping mechanic. Then you can like lock away enemies in this warp prison basically. So when you get to like 30 enemies, they will attack you. Instead of having these like minor combats, you have to fight 30 enemies and then actually 40 enemies when you upgrade that thing. So you get 40 enemies at the same time instead. Then of course this throwing the spells different angles makes more effort, right, and so on. But it's a really good gameplay because instead of having to have a lot of, if you want to, you can turn it off, but instead of having this like, many random encounters, right, you have one giant encounter, much harder encounter, but it's more XP, right, and more items and so on. So it's a really, really good take on this whole like how to have random encounters, turn-based combat, and then this magic, or of course, on the bosses are really important the way you throw them and so on, right. So it's a really, really interesting game. It feels like a really good like comeback to, again, FF7, FF8, but new combat system, but still keeping it turn-based and not making it real time or whatever. So yeah, that game is just the bomb, man. People should really, really play it. It's a fantastic game, seriously. One of the best game released last year for full time. Then it was like an iPhone game or something. But yeah, full released. But now then, the last games, right? The last 3 of the games. Hope you sit awake, everyone. The Wukongs, the Stellar Blade, or the crazy Yakuza guy. Okay. Now, people. This is when people are gonna be angry, you know. This is when people get angry at me. I know it. Maybe a short later, people get angry. Okay. So we got Wukong, FF7. We got that Stellar Blade. What game is better? Stellar Blade or Wukong? Stellar Blade or Wukong? F7. Stellar Blade or Wukong? You know I put it. This is the way. Maybe even this is the way. Where did I put it? I put it like that. Oh yeah. How should it be? Controversy. Damn. Yes, like that. There we go, guys. Get your anger out. I know you guys like it, but people later get crazy when you see it later because I know people hate things. I said it so many times, but I prefer Stellar Blade over Wukong. I think Stellar Blade is a much better game than Wukong. I would almost go so far and put Wukong in the good game category down here, and I have Stellar Blade on the tier list. But fine, Wukong has all stuff I like with it, so we have it in this list then. So yeah, this is the list, guys. So people hate this kind of look at it. Honestly, I've seen people hate, right, that Wukong does to Astrobot, which obviously is a trash game over there. But even more so, people hate also when I say Stellar Blade is better than Wukong. But it's just like there is so many reasons I actually think Stellar Blade is a better game. So first of all, then, why is Stellar Blade a better game than Wukong? The combat, right? The combat of Stellar Blade is fantastic. The best combat this year, the best like general core gameplay is Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade is an amazing combat, right? It is Sekiro, but like better. The parrying, the dodging, the doing cool combos. Like Stellar Blade's combat was an amazing experience from the first minute to the last minute, and it's also hard. Like I died some bosses. I don't want to spoil it here, but I have spoilers. Raven boss. My god, second Raven boss? Took me like 10 attempts. That game was freaking hard, man. Wukong, though, had terrible combat. So much sense. I mean, I like Wukong, don't get me wrong. I like Wukong. I think it's a great game, right? But compared to Stellar Blade, the combat is trash, honestly. Because Wukong has only one, I do these like light combos to my heart attack, right? And it doesn't feel as good at all. It doesn't feel as hard. The game is far too easy, I would say, for that minute. But you also it doesn't feel as good, The combos is kind of like, I don't know what you mean with CAC. What's that? Not even Lily? Oh yeah, no character creation. Well, I don't mind that too much with Wukong though, but the thing is that the combat doesn't feel as meaty, right? The combat doesn't feel as real. You're kind of wanging the staff at them, and it's kind of fun, but, I think the combat in Wukong is obviously actually pretty bad. After a while, it feels pretty bad, because you kind of do the exact same combo over and over again, and it doesn't feel really meaty hitting the enemy, right? And it's kind of the exact same strategy and most enemies over and over again. Where Stellar Blade again is like, my god, Stellar Blade is it's incredibly much better combat. And you have to really learn the enemies, and the harder the bosses, to learn them perfectly, how to parry, how to avoid them. You have to really master the combat Stellar Blade to advance the boss fights, right? Where in Wukong, it is more build-based, yes. It is more that Souls-like feel to it, where you go to your inventory and your respec and so on, which is fine, don't get me wrong. I think Wukong is also a good game, but it's more like, oh, this boss has Fire Magic. I should have the Fire Cloak. This boss, I should have the Wind thing, Wukong is more like, I should respec my staff and have a Lightning staff, and then the boss would die immediately. Wukong is more like that, right? And otherwise you can have the same battle strategy against every fight, where in Stellar Blade you have to actually understand the enemy, right? So Stellar Blade again is a Sekiro feel, where you have one sword, you have to just, I'm fighting you, how do you act, right? How do I avoid it, how do I deflect that, right? Where again in Wukong is more like, what is the boss stats? Or the boss is a lightning boss, or it's like weak against water, I should say, it's more like that, so it's like a weird, it is a weird fluid. But yeah, the Raven boss fight, that's a good example of it. The Raven boss fight is incredibly hard. It took me many attempts. You have to really master the game, right, again. Where in Wukong is like, I don't think any fight was really challenging. Sure, I died once or twice, but it wasn't like, oh my god, it's so hard. It's like, you kind of pick up again. So, in that sense, I think Wukong is very lacking. It's very limited. The talent tree isn't very good designed. and so on, right? But yeah, I keep saying it. Celebrate Sekiro, right? It's better. It's much better than Sekiro. It's Sekiro on like lighting fuels. Yeah, it's just so much better, and it looks cooler and everything now, right? That being said, the combat designer, Stellar Blade, again, aced it, right? However, otherwise, Wukong is a better game overall, perhaps, Stellar Blade, in other stuff, right? Because, for example, I do really give Wukong a lot of credits for this ending animations, right? You beat a stage, and you get this like really cool anime about this Buddha guy being, oh, this monk he wanted the Buddhas or the Bodhisattva's what's called the cloak or the mantle, and he got greedy for gold, right? Oh, this guy, he wanted these things, he tricked the humans to be evil and all this stuff. Right? So you're getting like a really interesting part like that. The storyline is interesting, the body you see, the music, right? So Wukong is like a really good game in that sense, right? And then I think it's a much better than I made. I think the storyline is better, and the side content, and the cuts are better, right? So Wukong definitely, I think, excels as like the whole Chinese mythology, and it's telling you a lot of stuff and showing you a little bit of the Chinese culture and so on, right? So in that sense, Wukong is a fantastic game. And again, I keep saying I think it's better than probably any other game this year of giving you that cultural feel to it, and just the lore and the background of the characters and so forth, right? And just the design of them. But just again, I have to be a gameplay guy, right? Like the gameplay is just weak in the game. The gameplay is good, but it's not good enough, I think, to be the best game, right? Where Stellar Blade is just like the best gameplay. However, the issue with Stellar Blade though is of course the storyline. It's kind of meh, I feel, right? It is very much, we're trying to make Need again, with hot chicks, right? And the waifus fighting, and that's perfectly fine. But it does feel kind of predictable. I think that especially Stellar Blade was boring because, come on, we all figured out what happened, right? We all figured out who's evil, right? That's true, though. Stellar Blade has different endings. That's true, and so on. So it's not completely limited, but still it's like, Stellar Blade, you have that Adam pick, and it doesn't have 3 endings, but I mean, but even if it has like 3 endings, Stellar Blade and so on, it still feels like everything up to the ending is very predictable. You know what I mean? It's a sci-fi, evil monsters and aliens, and you kind of like, well, those bio monsters are obviously humans, right? Yeah, well, obviously they're humans, but obviously they count even. Right? Yeah, it feels like every twist and turn you kind of predicted immediately, I felt, in the game. So Stellar Blade's writing, I think, is pretty bad, honestly. Maybe bad is harsh, but it's just like predictable. I mean, there's nothing new there. There's nothing new. It's like, yeah, I've seen it before. I played Need or whatever. I know what's gonna happen. Yeah, it's a lot like that. And sure, in the end, you can then decide if you wanna go A or B path, right? But it's like up to that point, it's kind of like you're playing this like whatever storyline. That being said, though, obviously the cuts are great. Eve's ass is great. Eve doing cool, attacks and all that stuff. The presentation is amazing. Absolutely, the actual playthrough of the game is 10 out of 10, of course. The actual graphic and the music is fantastic. And I think one thing that's interesting with both Wukong and Stellar Blade is that while Wukong is like the perfect game to get that feel of Asian China, historical China, right? The music and the characters and the lore. Stellar Blade is like the perfect example of modern South Korea. Yeah, honestly, because the music is very South Korea. Eve looks like South Korean, right? The Lily and so on. So people go, oh, Lily, no, this is South Korea, damn it. Everything in Stellar Blade is very much like modern, very high pop South Korea. So it's interesting because I never played a game that felt so South Korean as Stellar Blade, right? It's incredibly South Korean. That's why, for example, I said, people complaining about how Lily looks. She's an engineer. I was like, but she looks typical South Korean woman, her talk about so on. People just are very much, ignorant, right, against Asian cultures. But I think it's interesting, yeah, because Wukong is like a huge feeling of China, history of China, right? And Stellar Blade is like modern Korea, yeah, 100%. In a very weird way, yeah. It's like, oh, this is. But Wukong kind of rewrites the storyline, though. But I think both of them, honestly, doesn't have a very good story. If we're gonna be honest here, none of them, the best storyline in the game is this game, okay? If we're gonna talk about good storyline, the best storyline I've seen this year is ReFantazio. It's very much classic Final Fantasy storyline. Oh yeah, the bad guy, Sephiroth is the bad guy now, but it's very much like, I would say this game is probably the best storyline I played. Seriously, Vision of Man has been decent too, yeah. I remember saying yes, this is storyline too. Now I'm just kidding. We have, of course, the best game left. And bam, baby. Now, where is Yakuza? Yakuza 8. So first of all, this game is interesting because it was released January, right? 2024. So I felt a lot of people immediately forgot this game even existed, right? Because it was released the first month, the first week of the year or something. So it's kind of, it's always it's always an issue, right? Same thing with the anime award or whatever, right? It's never a good thing being released at the first day of the year, right? Because people are kind of like forget about it. At least for the award things coming, right? Because it's like almost been a year since the game was released, you know what I mean? When you voted for, right? So we're gonna put an Ichiban here, of course. This is the best game of the year. This is actually the best game of the year, right? But I think that this game actually is slightly higher in this game, but yeah. On English. We don't play the game on English. I know what you're referring to, yeah, Yong Ye or something, yeah. Freaking Yong Ye, man. The grifter Yong Ye. Stop ruining it. Yeah, wrong Yong Ye. I was like, best game of the year! And you're like, Yong Ye. Kryptonite. Yeah, Kryptonite. No, I think this is the best game of the year. But it is true that Yong Ye does the key. I have never played the game in English because I'm not insane, but I heard that Yong Ye was the voice actor, yeah. And Yong Ye is a terrible grifter, liar, and I don't probably say whatsoever. I mean, I called him out 2 years ago. Man, I don't like Yong Ye, Jesus Christ. That's ruining my game for man. Stop ruining my life. Okay, no, but seriously, the same for mentor. Okay, so Yong Ye, that's one of the main characters, right? Okay, so if you know who he is, Yong Ye is he's a big YouTuber, a million subscribers, right? You know what I mean? But Yong Ye, after he became a pretty big YouTuber, decided to not drop YouTube, but he decided to kind of go easy on YouTube and instead try to be a voice actor, similar to Pro CD, right? Both of them are like big YouTubers, and then they were using their YouTube fame to get voice acting roles, right? So I mean, obviously, there's no reason whatsoever that Yong Ye should be in this game. He wasn't famous on YouTube, right? His only reason he's getting acting roles is because he's famous on YouTube, obviously. Or famous, but you know, million subscribers, yeah. Obviously. Because he's not a talented actor for that side. But my problem with Yong Ye, my problem with Yong Ye is that he's a liar. Straight up. I said it before, say it again. Okay, so Yong Ye, whatever the name pronounced, is a liar, okay? So when the Bayonetta actress, right? And I called her out. I made a video saying she was lying to you, okay? I made a video immediately. I was the first person on the internet said a video immediately that the Bayonetta 4 or Bayonetta 3, whatever, Bayonetta, first actress Bayonetta was lying, okay? I said immediately, this is a bullshit lie, okay? She's lying about the money she's being paid, she's lying about how it works. But she made this video, oh, they don't pay me enough. And I said, it's complete bullshit, okay? I knew she was lying, because I worked in the industry. I have been a voice director. I worked in one game. I wrote the storylines one. I was also the voice caster and the voice, the person hiring the actor. So I knew she was lying about how the voice industry works in gaming. 100%. I made a video about it before she admitted she was lying. Go check it out. I made a video like immediately, the day 2 or something, after her controversy, long before she was exposed, okay? I was like the first person to see this on the internet saying she was lying. Immediately, I was like, a complete lying. But anyway, so she was lying then, right? How she was getting paid enough. She was lying about, the money, the dollar per hour spent or per day or whatever and so forth, right? And Yong Ye then, right, because he's a voice actor, went out, made more than one video defending her, right? And say that, oh, in my experience, it's the same thing, and blah, 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 so and it was all false, right? He was lying too. He was lying his teeth out, right? Because he's a very biased person, right? So he should have known better. He works in the same industry, so he's lying about his actual experience, right? And also he's a, whatever, Vogue, PC, whatever, right? She's this poor single woman, you know, all this harassing her and so on. But she was lying, he was lying, and it was ridiculous. So I didn't even like him before that, okay? I did not like Young Ye before that, but after that, I was like, this guy has zero integrity. He's purely lying about it because he knows people will donate to him. He will get more subs. Oh, poor me. I'm also an underpaid actor, you know, just like she is. It's all true. And it was all false. They were both goddamn liars, right? So Young Ye, a liar, you know. And whatever her name is, also, I can't remember her name now. What was her name now again? What's her name again? The actress. I completely forgot her name. This is how shit she is. What's her name again? Bayonetta actress. Helena Taylor, that's her name. See, this is how much I care about her. She's just a liar. She's a goddamn liar, okay? Liar. It's that substance. Liar, 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 yeah. Helena Taylor was her name. So, yeah, she was a goddamn liar. And it was just crazy how much she lied. And it took a few weeks, and that was overright. But basically, not to go too much here, but the context was that she was saying that, you know, oh, I only get paid like, what was it, $1,000, like $1,000 for this amount of days or whatever. But actually, it was like $1,000 per shoot, right? Not $1,000 per day or all this stuff. And it was just really weird. And overall, right, the voice actors do so little in the game. I mean, she wants to have like royalties. It's all this absurd thing, right? Oh, I want to be paid for my voice forever or something. But the thing is, the voice actor, and I mean this genuinely, okay, matters the least. If you voice, no, but seriously, okay. I've been working in many games in my life, right, you know. The voice actor is someone you hire the last, right? The voice actor comes in normally after almost everything else is already finished, right? Or, you know, being tested or whatever. But basically, the voice actor is only hired after you already coded most of the game, right? The casters are there. I mean, basically, imagine that you have, like, say, for Fantasy, all the casters are already done, you know, with the animator, the 3D graphics, the modeling, and so on. So you only are hired in the very last minute to come in and do a voice acting for a few days, and it's over, right? So first of all, voice acting is very much a freelance job, right? No one, like no studio has, you know, voice actors as like, you know, permanently employees, right? So it makes no sense whatsoever. You only need them like, you know, a week per year, right? So no one has them hired like permanently. Same thing goes with animes and whatever, obviously. But animes, some of them are in the same company so forth, right? But not always. But when it comes to gaming, especially, I mean, the voice actors will have, you know, again, the least amount of stuff to do, and it's only at the very end, right, of the production. So no one has them actually, you know, being like employed, right? So obviously that kind of job will pay you a lot of money per day, right? If anything, Helena Taylor and of course Young Ye are paid massively amount of money, right, per hours they do, right? They do very little work, they do very little actual hours, you know, they do extremely little actual effort, right, to the game. They're paid incredibly well. So if anyone is overpaid, actually it's a voice actor. The voice actor is actually the person being paid the most in the industry, right, per minute worked, right, because they spend the least amount of time in the game and they get paid severely high salaries, right, you know, per minute, right. And obviously you can say, oh, it's like they're actors, it's all about having the skill, and so yeah, of course, but in my point, they do absolutely the lowest amount of work, right, to get in the game. And when people defend and say that, no, but they have a talent, they have this thing, yeah, don't they coach the talent? What about the artists? What about the coder? What about the designers? What about every other person in the game that has to have creative abilities to create a cool art or a cool boss fight or a cool idea, cool mechanics? Why is only the voice actors that has to have talent, right? So that's because it doesn't make any sense either, because everyone in the production has to have the talent to do this thing, right? And if anything, to be fair, if people like Young Ye can voice this game, right, you know, you don't need much talent. It's obviously, you know, done by fame, right, you know. So I would easily say that it takes more effort and time in life, skill-based, right, so to speak, to become a really, really good like coder. It's way more hours you have to spend, way more education you have to spend time in to become a fantastic, like really high-level coder, especially when it security stuff, but like mathematically, STEM, you know, whatever, than having a decent voice acting skill, okay? not maybe the best actors in the world, but like, you know, roughly. Cause I mean, we all know that most dub actors are terrible. Yeah, like you should just talking. Like I'm doing that now. I mean, I could be able to talking to the mic right now. But yeah, see you guys. But coming into the last bit here now. It's ranting about Yongei, but anyway, voice acting, super overpaid people. No, but like the way it works is that, you know, you pay them extremely amount of money for like a few hours, right, per game, and then of course they will have to find a new job, right, you know, a new game. That's just how the industry works, right? And this woman is completely aware of that, and it's just really lying about how much money she was paid and so on. And it was basically like she was lying several times severely, right? You know, pretending that she was being paid like $1,000 per day, but it was mere per shoot, and a shoot is like, you know, 2 or 3 hours, and it was all this other stuff, right? You have a good day, but yeah, but now, so you're gonna leave now? I'm gonna talk about the best game this year, though, Yakuza. This is your fault. You started with the whole like Yongei, man. I completely forgot he existed. Like Yongei to me is not existed. But yeah, have a good day. But then come to the last bit here. Yakuza 8, best game this year, absolutely. Right, I think Saga is slightly better, so I put it like that, but yeah, like this thing, right, this is the best game. It's just like an amazing game. It is such a good game. I want to do this thing like that. Oh yeah, there we go. It is the best game. Yeah, maybe it's bigger. Oh yeah, now we're getting serious mode here. The best game. So Yakuza 8, right? Released like first day of the year, basically. So I forgot about it. No, but otherwise, I mean, this game is just fantastic. So it has all the classic, you know, Yakuza bits, right? Which is like an enormously amount of minigames, which apparently is what matters now for me. No, but FF7 and Yakuza obviously both have huge amount of minigames. But the thing is that you play Yakuza, right? First of all, core gameplay. Very good, like, just basic turn-based fighting, right? It's quick, it's agile, versus like Persona 5, so on, a little bit of Metaphor 2. But really good fights, and the game isn't like overtly easy. Not hard either, so I wish it was a little harder, I suppose. But you know, generally good like turn-based fights. But however, the game always has this huge amount of other, you know, mini games. But also, it has first of all the whole like Pokemon League, Sujimon League, which is really funny. The Hoodlum Fighting League, which is hilarious, and that's like a whole game itself. Then it also has this like Animal Crossing being like owning a tourist island thing, which again is like really funny. So it's like 3 games in one, right? So it really, first of all, succeeds in that classic Japanese roleplay game feeling, where you're like, oh yeah, this game is like 3-4 games in one. Okay, good. Then it has like 50 other mini games. Wow. Then it has some like mid-sized mini games, like the Uber delivery food guy, like Crazy Food and so on, right? So it's like, oh my god, this is super awesome and so on. So it's a lot of that stuff in the game. So you're like, oh my god. So then here, the gameplay is amazing, right? It's so much value of the gameplay. Then we have the storyline, the most mature, well-written storyline, easily this year, of course, with great characters, and it's like the last game, right? So you have all that stuff going on. So you're like, okay, so the game is like 50-hour storyline. Jesus Christ, it's like 5 hours for you even go to Hawaii. You're like, my god, the game is just so long. The game is incredibly long. Yeah, the game is 100 hours plus. The game is never ends. Then you unlock, you know, Kiryu, right? The previous main character because of games. So first of all in the game, you have, you know, Hawaii, right? Then you unlock 7, you unlock the old, you know, like the world from the previous game with Kiryu. Then after that, you also unlock yet another region, right? The old Komarashi region from Kiryu's the first Yakuza games. So the game is like 3 times as big, as large as the 7 game was, from a world map standpoint. So the game is just massive, right? It's massive. The game is never ends. It's almost like this game is too long, Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's super long. Jesus Christ, the game is never ends, man. No, but it has everything. It has incredible good storyline, massive world exploration, so much, you know, cutscenes and storyline and characters. And like every goddamn character from the previous Yakuza games or cameo, and it's just like so much. And just interesting fighting techniques and combination of new classes and everything. So the game just has it all, right? It has it all. And it's just hard, I feel, to pick up another game as good as the game. It's fun all the way through, polished, talk about Astrobot, right? but it has everything that, all the typical side content, the virtual fighter, the kart racing. Yeah, it's like 10 games in one, man. Already at that level, we have to always judge a little bit, I feel, the monetary value, right? Yakuza, you pay like $50 for it, you get like 20 games. Yeah, it's like the mistake, it's a race of mini games. But the real storyline, it also has the typical, you know, endless dungeons and the courtroom dungeons, and there's so much stuff into it, right? And all the weird comedy jokes and all the there's so many characters. Like the guy that his wife is dying, and he wanna use the snow powder outside her bedroom, and she's died in hospital and so on. Like there's so many like or the guy that is like being scammed by this like Aloha Hawaii girl that she wants his money or something. There's so much, I mean, I spoiled about her. There's so many characters, you know, like the music guy, and it's almost like Yakuza games. Yeah, there's so many side characters, so many interesting main characters and interesting bad guys, and it's just a fantastic game all the way through, right? But I think it's a good game both in characters, in the world building, the lore and everything, and how everything connects to the previous games, but also, like I keep saying, all the gameplay of it, all the mini games, all the side. Oh yeah, you had a dating. See, I don't even remember all the games in the game, and they're so different too. That's the thing, they're so different too, right? Because you have this dating game where you basically sit there and do like a Tinder date with someone, right? Which is a very different gameplay. Then you have another gameplay where you have to be a waiter, where you have like the Pokemon Snap gameplay. So it's just like every game at the same time. It is crazy, yeah. You're like, oh my god. But that's why it's so fun too, because you're playing, right? It has a good general, you know, again, turn-based combat system, right? So you're playing that, and then you have this constant interaction between all the mini games. And it doesn't feel as bloated either. Anyway, FF7 is very, very much bloated, right? FF7 I still think is one of the best games this year, but the way FF7 does it is that it's a little too much, how to say, minigame, in doing this like side quest, right? Where in Yakuza it's more like you go in the village and suddenly the guy's like, do you want to run through cars like Frogger? Like, I guess. You do that thing and the story like keeps going, yeah. Yakuza is much better at like interjecting these minigames into the general storyline. You cannot do them on the way there, yeah. I think Yakuza is much better like that, because you're basically moving from A to B place, right? And while you're moving from A to B place, you run into like 3 new minigames. So you enjoy them, they're very short and quick, and then you have some normal fights, normal turn-based JRPG fights, and then you get to the next story bit. With FF7, it's much more like you have the main storyline, which you can just keep doing, and then you have all this like gigantic bloated exploration with many minigames, and this kind of side stuff, right? So if you go outside the main storyline and start doing the minigame, suddenly you have like 10 hours of minigames and a break. So I feel that's with that game. I see the FF7 is a good game, but that's where it's better. It's better interjecting it every now and then, and having like a giant bloat of it at the same time, right? But like I said, FF7 I think is a very good game. You should have less of that, right? When you go outside and do the minigame, it shouldn't be like 3 hours of finding every goddamn bio thing or something. Yeah, it should be like 1 hour of that. Then again, will be the best game this year, maybe. But stuff like that, right? Just makes Yakuza really funny. And also, what I haven't mentioned, cutscenes. Like, one thing that makes it so fun too is that the game is crazy, right? So you're fighting in Yakuza, and you're unlocking these new abilities, like the chef ability, or the, what's called, like the scuba diver and so on. They have all these weird classes, right? So you're fighting in the game, you eventually unlock like their ultimates, and suddenly it's like, oh my god, I'm coming with a shampoo bottle, it's like this weird cutscene, or, you're summoning your friends with the telephone, and it's jumping down from a helicopter and exploding, and the game is just like weird, right? The game is so crazy. Maybe it's a little bit acquired taste, but yeah, when I play Yakuza games, I am enjoying every goddamn cutscene. I'm laughing at every cutscene, I'm enjoying every little weird angle of the behavior they have. It's fantastic, man. It's so good, yeah, it's so good. You want to see every cutscene at once, yeah, you're like, oh my god, it's crazy, yeah, it's like, let's see what happens. But anyway, I love a game, can't be said enough. Now, let's take a quick check down on the best game this year. Of course, every game isn't here. These are some of the main games. So let's do an accurate. The best game is here, Like a Dragon, Yakuza 8. Second best game, remember Saga 2, which I could almost put up here as a better title than this game here. It's just a perfect experience. I kind of put it like that, right? But to make sense of the list I make it here, but it's an incredible good game. Then we have FF7, good Stellar Blade, which I think is a much better game than Wukong, but the combat design is just better. Yeah, is it Wukong overall? It's better anime, interesting catch sign, and so on. But the combats of the game is a bit lacking. Elden Ring, if it has to be here, is here. Fantasia, really good game. Really, coming back from FF7, kind of FF8 feel, right? It's a creator of FF5 Fantasy coming back. And it's a fantastic game, honestly. Really underrated, underrated, played, metaphor, overrated game, but still fine. You can Overlord, incredible good gameplay, incredible bad storyline, is ruined for me, but otherwise great game. Dogma, somewhere in the middle of, I really love the beginning of it, then you really hate it, kind of. And then you have the bottom games, which is kind of like, they're playable, but they have issues, they're not, these are all like games you could buy, you could pay money for them, but like already that good, they have some issues. It's something like this, I would say. Maybe put like that, actually. Maybe this is even, if you need it awesome, and like, that's better. Something like that, and that's it. Accurate tier list, guys. But yeah, I think it's kind of, Wukong obviously is the shiniest pushed now, but I think that, as I mentioned earlier, I like Wukong, but you just can't come up to the Stellar Blades combat for me at all. But yeah, the game that I would say that I had the most polished, so to speak, fun, right? The Astrobot people talk about that, is this game, yeah. It's shorter game, but that's what I mean. Like, if this game had more content to it, it would still be a better game. And it's kind of funny to say, right? Because would it be less or more polished if it had more minigames or whatever? It would probably be less polished, right? But I still feel that this game just lacks a little bit that extra side content that you have, and a little bit too easy to find all the best weapons, because it's very streamlined to do that. This is why I prefer, a little more extra side stuff. So if I can have a mixture of this game, it's the perfect game ever, right? Something like that. But honestly, also definitely the best open world game this year. Yeah, more so than Elden Ring, because I enjoyed this game more to explore this game than I did Elden Ring. But otherwise, Elden Ring is also very good open world, of course. As always, the other games are just kind of whatever, right? It comes open world, yeah, Jesus Christ, but it's classic Horizon games and so on. Yeah, it's just boring. It's boring. But guys, that's it, guys. And I think I might do something with anime. Sorry for that, guys. Maybe, or I'll do the classic top 10 anime thing, but I think the same thing kind of applies to anime too, right? I kind of like this system because, like I said here, I think this thing here to me is more telling. Leave a couple of other things, but I think this is more telling, right? Than you're seeing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, blah blah. Because now you can kind of, I think this gives you a better feeling of, okay, these are some really good games that you should play. These are some decent good places to play. It's like, okay, and this is like the games you probably want to play, but they're not the best, So I think this gives you a better feel to it than it's like 1, 2, 3, 4 power, because this here gives you a better experience of, okay, but when do I get like another level of that feel, right? And again, I think this is even more true probably for anime. It's like a must watch here instead and so on. I think this will be a better feel for anime. I think so. That's what I'm thinking, at least. They do the same thing for animes. Then obviously will be even more in the bottom, because anime has more like mid stuff that you can watch, but they aren't the best, right? So I'm thinking. Leave a couple of guys think, but I think it makes sense at least. But anyway, guys, see you guys and have a great day.